Dun, 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 dun,
All
dun,
right.
dun,
All
dun.
right. Welcome back. It's been a long 2 weeks ish or so. We had some scheduling inconsistencies, et cetera. But we're gonna be doing our podcast tonight. We're gonna be discussing chapter 1003 and 1004 of One Piece. So
Yes.
that's the deal. We're gonna be going on that. Last couple chapters have been pretty crazy. As I'm sure everybody has all read them, and you know
Hmm.
we all
Can't believe
know
Oda
that.
would do that.
But yeah, 1003. We can just get right to it. I mean,
We got Thickums on the cover. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, we get Reiju, and a scorpion. The affections of a scorpion. This
Oh
is
yeah,
like the
that's who I was
closest.
talking
This is like
about.
the closest thing I got to my request that I sent in and never was accepted.
Oh, you're not Noda?
I'm not Noda. I sent in or
Oh,
I
yeah, but
tried to send in a request, and I asked Noda to send in a request of like Reiju, Magellan, and Kawamatsu having like a poison barbecue.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool.
It would be a good cover story. I thought that was like a really clever, cute little idea, but I don't think it'll ever happen. But
Doubt
we'll
for
see.
So if that did happen, you'd have to show Kawamatsu like with the stank face,
Yeah, he's not
because he
like an
didn't
actual
enjoy it.
fan of poison. Yeah, but
Yeah.
just because the three of them are
They'd be like feeding him dishes
Poison
like with
related.
poison in it, and he'd be like judging them. That would be what it would. That'd be sick.
You know what? Make
Yeah,
Caesar
Evan,
the cook.
One Piece is pretty neat. Isn't that right? It is actually a good
Yeah, One
series. It
Piece
might
is
be
pretty
worth
neat.
discussing it in a related Discord, perhaps.
Oh, shut up,
It
idiot.
could be worth
He's too
it.
bad. He's too busy simping. All right, let's move into the chapter.
All right, so this
First
chapter pops
page.
off. Luffy's just fucking giving Kaido the business, dude. He's giving him the whole corporation right now.
Yeah,
Just
it's
fucking
pretty cool double
wailing
spread
on him.
too.
Absolutely wailing on him. Big Mom is shocked, visibly shocked. Like it's worth noting. Like Whole Cake Island, the entire fucking arc, where she, like basically her shit was getting fucked up. She really was like Whole Cake Island was like a big precedent that Luffy set. It was like, yeah, basically the Straw Hats are screwing up my whole thing with a matter of like 5-6 people and then like a couple of other allies as well. Obviously, not to, yeah, but during that whole time she never really shed her pants like she was here. She's like actually shocked big
'Cause
time that Luffy's
yeah,
doing this to Kaido.
because it was mostly like Luffy was doing stuff, but it was like at the skin of like he was barely surviving like every situation and whatnot.
Right,
It was
right,
also a
yeah.
and like
matter of there was literally nothing that existed in Whole Cake Island that could even hurt Big Mom, like
yeah,
all together
yeah.
potentially.
Nobody ended up hurting him, or hurting her, or any of that. And then now she's seeing someone else with the similar uh uh defensive capabilities, I guess, taking damage from this same god that was unable to touch her. So it's
Yeah,
pretty
and
cool.
she knows Kaido. They've obviously known each other for decades and decades and decades, right? And then she knows
Yeah,
his reputation. She knows how he is, and she's shocked that he's getting rocked like this.
yeah.
Like, yeah, she's like
Right.
she's blown out, right? And then Luffy continues. He hits him with one last hit, knocks him hard,
Face.
knocks his face hard into Onigashima. Kid's shocked. Big Mom's calling out his name, and then Luffy falls out of Gear Fourth, and Zoro.
Luffy's huffing too.
Oh yeah. He went in. It was just like in Udon, right, where he was just like going fucking crazy. He's just like
Yeah.
pummeling the shit out of him, and then that's the end of it for him, right?
He put everything into that shit.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
he did.
that was in Curry that happened.
Curry,
But
yeah. Sorry, not
yeah,
Udon.
yeah.
Yeah.
Luffy always huffs and puffs stuff. That's just kind of what he does in Gear Fourth. For some reason, he's constantly wheezing and out of breath in it.
I don't think he constantly is. I just think it's usually when he's like
No, yeah,
going.
constantly. Like if he's just standing there, he'll be like trying to just huffing for whatever reason,
I
or
don't remember
standing,
that.
bouncing there rather.
Maybe. I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, not at the very beginning of his form or whatever, but like if for example, yeah, like
Just the
when
slightest
he's
flex.
when he's been done when he's done any attacks, he's worked up a big sweat basically. Yeah.
Mhm.
One thing I love about this whole pummeling is visually this is no different to the Curry fight, really, because we can't really see the hockey working, but we're just kind of taking it that Kaido's getting fucked up with all these two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
these are all third level Rio bullshit or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, fucking better be, dude. Like I think he's bleeding in the first hit. Yeah, it looks like he's bleeding from the first
yeah.
punch.
There's blood flying out of his mouth.
yeah, he's getting hurt. Big Mom being shocked is the biggest indicator. And yeah,
Yeah,
he
really.
gets rocked into the ground, and then yeah, he wheezes out. He's like, oh no, and then kid's confused. Law explains it, right? Oh, he won't be able to use his hockey. Blah blah blah.
You know, I
Then
want
Kid
to. I want to point
especially
something out here.
mentioned he. I just want to say like he especially mentions if all those punches did full damage, which I think to me implies that yes they did. That
Yeah,
yes that
sure.
attack was worth it. It was not just nothing. Yeah, that's put there for a reason. That dialogue.
So there was like a lot of debate for some reason about back in Whole Cake Island when Luffy Kong guns Big Mom and she just kind of elbows it
Yeah.
and he like immediately goes out of gear fourth and just starts passing out as usual, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna start using this the way he's doing it here as well as like the proof that no, it's just gear fourth.
So I'm no, because it's hard to say because like this situation. So we remember back in Dressrosa, this all happened as well. He got tired after using it, and then on Whole Cake versus Katakuri, he had no issue like running and whatnot afterwards. Um, and then here we are again. This is a clear indicator that no, he could not have gotten up and ran if he wanted to because Zoro had to come in there and save him. That is an indication that this isn't something where he could keep moving forwards. So I think I'm a little confused about the whole Big Mong gun from back in the day,
Well,
because that was just
the reason for the confusion is that one SPS where Oda says
yeah.
like yeah you remember the one for
That
anybody
well, that was
for anybody who
worded.
doesn't remember it's like oh you know if Luffy did not have somebody to help him he would have been on his own but basically the idea is that he wasn't able to use hotkey right and then we saw that in the Katakuri fight
Well,
where he
hold
was
on.
able to run
So fats. That wording is very important though because he didn't say he would have been able to run or anything. Oda said that he would have figured something.
well yeah
He
Uh,
would have done his best, I think is what the wording was.
he would have done
Yeah.
his best. It wasn't like he'd be able to get away or something like that. It was just he would have done his best.
Yeah,
So
it's not to say he would have gotten away in this situation, but you know we know from the fight with Katakuri that you know he has moved around after running out of gear fourth before.
I think
right?
I think there is a bit of a distinction there though. So when Luffy said like thanks for reminding me to Katakuri or whatever after like right before he ran out, uh, and then afterwards he's able to run. So I think maybe it's like if he uses it too much to where like he literally fully depletes his hockey, then he can't he like loses energy or whatever. But then if he like actively remembers it and gets out of gear fourth on his own, maybe he can still run. But I don't know. There's some weird shit there. Like maybe he pushes himself too hard,
Yeah,
and
maybe
that's
that's
why he
fair.
gets tired.
Maybe that's fair.
Well, that was a full extended round of Gear Fourth though, where he was actually going pretty hard and was
Yeah.
getting to thinking about it. Scott Curry was fucking him up again. But he just lets the timer run out because he tries to fly away as fast as he can first. So he doesn't like consciously get out of it. It just runs out and he hits the ground running. But then I think that also illustrates that if he has to, he always can run. He didn't have to here.
He
Like
did.
he was
did have to.
surrounded by his friends and he has observation hockey. He would know he doesn't actually have to worry about Big Mom if Zoro's there.
I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's what Oda's trying to portray. I think Oda is just I think he's genuinely too tired to move. Zora helps him. He overexerted himself is what I think. And I think it's possible that maybe he overexerted himself here more than he did in Dressrosa.
Well, I
something like
mention it because just like in or not Dressrosa, I'm sorry. Whole Cake. When he first out of the mirror world, right? He's fresh out of Gear 4. He doesn't even have his hockey yet,
Yeah.
and he's still running around. And I think he uses Gear 2nd at one point. But
Yeah,
then Sanji has
he
to
does.
grab him, and he just passes out as soon as Sanji gets him. And I think that's what was kind of happening here.
Well,
Like,
him
okay,
passing out,
passing out.
as soon as Sanji gets him. That's not like a Gear 4 thing. That's just him being genuinely exhausted from the entire fight. That wasn't like related to Gear 4 at all. He passed
Oh.
out. He passed out after his fight with Katakuri for those 10 minutes already, and then he got back up and and then left.
Yeah, that's true. That they did pass out for like an hour, whatever.
Yeah, it was a
Uh,
while.
but I don't know. Still, it just seems like that would be the right thing. Like if it was a life threatening thing, he could find the strength to get up, because otherwise, he would just lay down and die. But then if he has a crewmate next to him, why not just trust him? And I'm sure he just kid with his life at this point because he's retarded. So
I don't know, man. I like he's even like eyes whited out, tongue sticking out of his mouth, passed out on the ground. I don't know. Even in Whole Cake, it was like he looked exhausted, but you could see his pupils. No tongue hanging out. He was talking still, if I recall correctly. But in
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
he's
eyes
like,
whited out,
dead.
just like how Kaido's eyes were whited out in Curry.
You know what I mean? You know what this is
Just
different.
like just like how
Tongue
Aku
out.
one shot
well,
Luffy
I mean,
earlier in the
his
arc
eyes
when
are blacked out.
Yeah, exactly, Adam. Exactly.
Let's make the distinction. Luffy's eyes are blacked out, not whited out. I'm just saying.
What?
All right. Well, yeah, that's we can.
No, click the next panel. Click to the next page, and then look at the top panel. Bean.
Oh, that one. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I was looking
Okay.
at.
See, can we talk about now about how Zoro chose to dodge Big Mom's slash instead of block it? Clearly, he's too scared. He knows Big Mom would roast him. So
Superior swordsman, really.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Mad Sanji fans, dude. Of course, he had to save his captain, and doing
could've
that,
blocked
it's
to
the same.
save
It's the
him.
same
He could've blocked
situation, exactly the same situation as with Sanji holding Luffy in Whole Cake. That everybody talks about. Oh, Sanji only got shot because he was holding Luffy. Isn't that correct, Red and Adam?
But he wasn't holding Luffy.
But he was.
He could have gotten in front of
he
Luffy
could've-
and blocked.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, so then Sanji. It's the
Sanji
same.
was already holding Luffy prior to that.
So Sanji was scared.
Sanji had to deliver Luffy to the ship.
Yeah. Let's.
Okay. Yo, Zoro had to
Hold on,
deliver
hold on. I'm
Luffy
gonna pause
from
real
not
quick.
getting cut in
I'm
half.
gonna pause you real quick. Zoro is strong as fuck, right? Now, memes aside, what me and Adam are trying to say here is that people that think he could just fucking take on Big Mom and Kaido and with no issue and just to block all their attacks without any problem, shit, are the ones that we are responding to here.
Okay, yeah, so
let's stop the
So
memes.
if
Let's
you're
stop the memes.
talking
You get
about
what we
that in particular, then obviously, yeah, that's not the case. I would
mean. He wouldn't be able to block Big Mom's attack.
I
here,
think
so
the
he
context
grabbed
is
it.
more so not like, oh, Zoro's going through all these motions of oh, I know I can't block her attack or I can't do
Yeah.
this. It's more just yeah, he's just grabbing Luffy. But yeah, of course.
But I also don't think he could. is another
no, that much.
Yeah.
I mean, even Jinbei, fucking mythic level,
Yeah.
could not. Yeah, of course not.
Hey, Jinbei
God
tried.
damn
Jinbei fucking tried though. That was, put
He
some
tried.
respect on Jinbei's
Yeah, no,
name.
oh, don't believe me.
Hey,
I
to
put
be
respect
fair-
on Jinbei.
To be
Believe
fair,
me.
Sanji and Luffy together did though, you know.
Yeah.
See-
Okay, dude.
Okay. So hot take here. Hot take.
Mm.
Unironically, Zoro could have taken it, and then just like Jinbei, a few seconds later would have been blown away. That would have been fine.
I think that makes sense to me too.
But
I think he could
then-
have done something like what Jinbei did.
Yeah, like a quick parry, and then Big Mom just puts her back into it. And
Not
suddenly
even
he
like
goes
yeah.
flying,
If it's
sure.
if they got in a clash, Zoro would get blown the fuck away. But he may be able to hold it off for a second or something.
Okay, I'm gonna pause again. Bean,
What's that?
ignore the anime.
So why does this
Okay.
guy have the remote? Okay, you talk about I'm gonna pause here.
Or-
I'm gonna pause this.
I'm gonna pause
The
here.
remote.
I'm gonna pause here fast. The reason I have the remote is okay. But ignore the anime. I think I had this conversation with you before in the server. Like
I'm gonna
3
pull
years
it up.
ago.
I
in the
of
manga,
course you are,
I
goddamn.
don't think it was a Jinbei blocked it.
It
held
was.
for
It
multiple
was. It
seconds,
was.
and
It
then
was. It
got
was. It was. I
killed.
remember. I remember it
actually
very
was.
clearly.
I'm literally.
I
Yeah,
did
pull
it.
it up. Pull it up, Adam. I remember it. I remember it.
See,
I remember it
wait,
so
wait,
clearly.
Right here.
Yes. Pull it up because
before you say anything,
I remember it so clearly, dude.
I do too.
I have to say, Red, I never go anime. Come on, man, you know me.
Jinbei blocks it, and then there's a moment. There's like several
She actually
panels.
comments.
There's
on
several panels where she's like talking, and then
okay.
yeah, and then he gets blown away.
Okay, I'll give you that.
She's like, "You think you can hold me back in a strength of in a feet something
I'll
strength?"
give you that. I'll give you that. I'm reading. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, you got it. You got it. Good. Let's no
Now
disrespect.
Zoro couldn't do that though. Zoro's a bitch. All right.
Dude, okay. Let's just move on. Let's just enough of this.
Fine.
Zoro is weaker than Jinbei, so this is true.
Well, he's
Yeah,
weaker
so
than
I'm-
Jinbei, but I think
fair.
he could potentially, you know.
No.
potentially-
Jokes aside. I don't think Zoro's weaker than Jinbei. I just think that Jinbei is more specialized to that type of situation per se.
Oh, I
Dude,
legitimately
he literally
think
just puts his arms up and like coded him in hockey though. It
Yeah,
wasn't
but
like
he's a
used
big-
special
he's a
technique.
He's a big fat sumo man, bro. That's all
I
he does.
legitimately think he's weaker than Jinbei, but
Zoro
that's
uses
me.
swords, dude. It's not like it's not like Zoro's cutting his forearms here, dude. You know, it's not like he's out of his wheelhouse. It's literally the same situation.
No, because sumo man is all about not being.
Dude,
pushed
we're
back,
already
you know?
so dude. We're so off that. Okay, dude. Look.
All right, let's tell them.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay. All
Go
right.
ahead.
Law goes in. Countershocks Big Mom. With a pretty small panel. Not too much attention given to it. Right.
You know what?
Gets
I
the
actually missed that
countershock,
one my
she's-
first time around.
She's fucking yawing. Kaido's ooh, and then he turns around and then he decides to start whipping up a Twister.
This is the
and-
best attack in the entire fucking franchise. I don't care what anyone says. It's the
Bullshit.
greatest thing ever, dude.
I don't know, dude. The fucking tsunamis that Whitebeard did are pretty great, also.
What about Concassio or whatever the fuck it's pronounced like?
What?
Concussor,
Jesus,
that's how he
Concussor.
says it. He's like
Oh,
concussor.
Yeah.
Dude,
the-
fuck you. No, shut up.
Yeah,
Ryan.
get it.
God
I like
damn
kicks,
it.
man. I like kicks. All right.
Kicks
No,
like,
this is sick as fuck.
Kaido's like the
I like how he
classic move.
literally coils himself like a snake and then like upwards, kind of like
It's like the one
the new one from
Gigantamax.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
See, that's actually specifically why I love it so much. Like, he didn't just breathe out or anything. This dude for real just grabbed the air and twisted it at people and called it an
Yeah.
attack.
It looks great.
Creative twisters.
It looks great. Yeah, he starts
Hold my
he
breeze,
starts up
boys.
several tornadoes, and is just wreaking havoc on the entire thing. And then Zoro's like, "Oh yeah, this guy's just a natural disaster," which I'm not sure. My memory's failing me, but it was either an earlier chapter or it's the later chapter where someone refers to Big Mom as a disaster, and I think that's when she does.
Mhm.
The lightning
It was
attack.
both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with Indra. Yeah, and then they're both just like, holy shit, we're fighting against natural disasters, blah blah blah.
Yeah, and then Kaido just fucking eats Luffy.
Yeah, I know. He loses Luffy, and he's like, "Oh no, Luffy!" And then he just fucking, oh, not so fast! Don't you dare go eating our captain! It's
So
like, okay,
I
dude.
love. Excuse me. I love how this is Zoro's first time ever seeing the Emperors in action, like period, right? Because he's never seen Kaido fighting. He never saw, you know, he obviously wasn't at Whole Cake because it would have been better. No, I kid.
Man.
But I love that he's making the comment that every fucking character's made so far already. He's just now catching up that these people are basically like fighting in nature. Like, Kaido's an actual walking storm. Dude lifted an island and he's planning to drop it somewhere, and he's actually carrying on a full fight while he's still flying this island.
Mhm.
I like that no one's pointed that out yet.
I think we talked about that already. How we
Oh,
like pointed as we were talking about before, how like there was a chance that he was like he had to maintain the smoke from his mouth, but then when we saw that the fight started, we like realized that wasn't true. So, yeah.
Well, he was in human form and doing it, so I figured he was just fine either way.
Yeah. I don't know. He's doing stuff.
Yeah.
But the Twister looked really fucking cool.
Twister was cool, and then Zoro's Twister looked good too. Zoro,
That's what I meant.
Zoro,
I was talking about.
oh
that.
yeah. Zoro successfully lands a pretty significant blow on Kaido, managing to cut the scales.
Dragon versus dragon.
Right. Yeah, he actually cut Kaido. Big Mom comments on it, and he's like,
Yeah.
Kaido's like, "Oh, that hurts. Oh, that's Odin's sword. Okay."
Is that katana the source of that strange haki?
Oh God, don't even. Please, let's not even go there, dude. I've had too many disgusting arguments in manga about
What?
that line. People, yeah, you know who you are, Bell, Zephyr D. Bell,
What's the
fucking
argument?
saying, it's just Odin's strength. It's not even Zoro's, etc.
It's both.
I mean,
You can say it's
the
both. That's
sword-
fine.
It's the sword. The sword is the reason he's able to, but I'm sure by the end of this fight, Zoro will be able to do it on his own or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Zoro is doing it because he's able to wield the sword.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's I don't know. It was just a bunch of dumb shit. We
was
don't
all
even
that-
have
there
to
was all that
dwell on it.
talk-
I honestly don't
Yeah.
want to dwell on it. Like it's just a terrible.
There was already all
conversation.
that talk. There was already all that talk about how like no one can wield the sword since Odin or whatever. Obviously,
Yeah,
since he's
yeah.
using it, it's a testament to his own ability. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's just like no samurai popped up. That's a really stupid thing for them to put in the series, in my opinion, because just no samurais popped up as strong as Odin in general.
But also, it was reserved for Momonosuke for 20 years, so I don't know who will get the chance.
Yeah.
Well, even
Well, that
before,
one
even
was
before
reserved for
Odin,
Hiyori, I mean, that one
even-
was for Hiyori, but
even before Odin, I don't think there was like any or many. Didn't they talk about how like Odin was the first in a long ass time or some shit? I don't remember. It's been minutes since I read that part.
I
Imagine
don't
liking
think so.
Zoro.
What they
Imagine
made-
not liking Zoro after this chapter, dude. I mean, look at this shit. Okay, we're looking at the Black Rope Dragon Twister from chapter 1003.
I mean,
Yeah.
he wouldn't have to do this if he had better grip strength on Luffy. So,
Okay. Dude.
All right, let's move
I
on.
guess that
Okay, dude.
means-
Yeah, anyway,
that means
Kaido.
that Kaido's Twister.
Yeah, Kaido's
Sorry,
like,
go ahead.
"Oh, you dare challenge
Dare
me?" He's like,
challenge.
"You want to see a Twister? I'll show you a fucking Twister." And then he goes even crazier with it, and he's like,
That shit's
coils
so
up
cool.
again and just sends out a bunch of slashes and is basically.
I
fucking up
imagine
everything.
I imagine him like uncoiling like fast as fuck.
Yeah,
it's just like-
exactly. That's
yeah,
exactly
I
how
think
I
that's what's
picture it
happening.
too.
It looks like that's what he's doing there
Yeah.
because of motion lines.
Yeah, he
Is he also breathing lightning at them, or is he just like screaming to the
He's
sky?
screaming and it's causing lightning to come
Yeah.
out of his mouth, but I don't think it's at them.
I can't really
It's-
tell if it's like just effect or if that's like just lightning's coming out of his mouth. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Well, we know he can't. We already know he can scream it, don't we? So it's like
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, yeah, it looks cool. That's basically my
Yeah.
my
it's
understanding
just
of it.
showing the power of the scream, I guess. Probably what it
Right.
is with genuine like electric effects because that's what he has or whatever.
Yeah.
And then everyone dodges or flex whatnot.
Yeah, they have to cut it. They have to get out of the way, etc. And then we see.
I'm just saying Zoro had to dodge and Killer was able to deflect it. Dude, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh my god, you're such a fucking hater. It's unbelievable. Anyway, we
Hey.
move on. You know, there's rubble falling from the ceiling, and then all the fodder are commenting, "Yeah, the battle above is so fierce, the rubbles keeps raining down. Oh yeah, it's going
Mhm.
crazy." And then we see Orochi's severed head again.
Mhm.
We see him, and then we see the Go board and
Yeah.
CPO are talking about.
So before we move on to CP0, I want to point out the fact that we don't see the body here. I think is a very.
I was
telling-
just about to point that out. We have a head with no body. I think he
Mhm.
just got up.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the head would remain if he can regrow head. It's the body that it would regrow.
Yeah, that's
I'll post the panel just to show you how close the body was. Like, you don't think his head was lopped off like a yard away or anything like that. So
it might be a bit too like looking into it a bit too much. My
think,
immediate thought is, okay, number one, I want to say that yeah, obviously, like, I think my general thought is that Orochi still has like a really solid chance of being alive, because of
Yeah.
his fruit, and then just because of like, even like chapter 1004, like there's more shit there, right? Like, potentially Hiyori's, whatever. But yeah, I think he still has a solid chance of being alive. My immediate thought though was like, wow, they're showing his severed head again, and I was like, well, maybe he actually just is dead, you know.
No, I think that's partially what Oda wants you to think, but I think the fact that we don't see, I think Oda would show the body here. That was what he was trying to convey. You know what I mean? But there's
You also
Yeah,
can't
I
see
see.
the crown.
there.
You can't see the crown either.
The crown.
Yeah, he
would've
took the
rolled
crown off
right
of
in
his.
face.
He's like, I can't fucking live without this. This is all I have.
But like, even if the body was like fucking 10 yards away or something, I just think the fact that we're only seeing the
He
head.
shows just the head. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And considering his fruit, considering his significance to the Wano and the plot and everything, yeah,
Mhm.
it's not unlikely whatsoever that he
Yeah.
would be alive. Yeah.
Exact. And then we can move on to CP0.
Yeah. So we get CP0. They're tattling along, basically explaining the situation among themselves, and blah blah blah. Destiny ordained that the samurai and pirates would join hands like this. Wow, there's no telling what might happen to the world after this battle. And then they give us a couple of numbers, right? Like the Kaido's forces have lost 3,000, the samurai have lost 400. So now it's 27K versus 5,000. And then they talk, the
They're
difference.
just attributing it to the Go board and whatnot, and all out battle, yada yada.
Yeah, and they basically put power levelers on Suicide Watch here, talking about that, yes, difference in numbers, regardless of whether they're fodder or not, make a big
Right.
difference.
It's important which is important to reference this chapter considering next chapter. But
Yeah, it's
before
the
we get
same
there,
thing. The same thing is referenced next chapter, right?
Yeah.
And see, that's something I have a lot of contention with when it comes to discussions. The whole numbers being important thing. It's something Oda's been trying to drive through for
Oh, he's been saying it
entire
forever.
series, the entire
Forever,
series.
yeah. I mean, when it comes,
Although I guess
when
the tough thing is that he's said it a lot, but he hasn't really shown it as much, in my opinion.
See, the issue
And then
is
you do
Well,
have
even-
people.
if Kaido literally just used his dragon twisters, literally every single 30, all 32,000 of those people would all just die.
I don't think that's
So-
how it works. I think all the people on his side would too. Yeah. That's what you meant.
And see,
Yeah.
that's actually the thing too. It's like an average of who the crowd is. It's not just like one person can wipe out 1,000 people. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, you get 10 million civilians. Okay, Kaido's gonna make a meal of them in a day. Sure.
yeah. Well, I mean, that being said, it's also noted here, right, that if Kaido's officers are left alive or like not incapacitated, then yes, they're going to flip they are the big point here, right? That's basically what they're saying is like, if they leave these guys to do what they want, then yeah, the battle's fucked because they are going to take out people hundreds at a time, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So
And
yeah,
then they obviously
yeah,
show all the fights. going.
it's not that it's entirely bull, right? That like, oh, like the strongest people will just wipe out everybody, but yeah, he talks about mostly about how there are a ton of forces, and it's like, yeah, the alliance is just going to be screwed unless they can take out the most powerful people in those forces,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
And then he gets that line about that wanting them to take each other out and whatnot. I don't know if this is trying to imply that, but towards the end of the arc we get another like Dressrosa situation where like the Marines are kind of like there and Luffy has to worry about them, but with Fujitora and whatnot. Curious to see how that goes.
You know what? We may end up getting a bit of subversion because CP0 is, government.
Is
So
there,
it may end up being a bit different. Like instead, we get CP0 planning to take over Wano or something like that. You know?
Yeah, honestly,
Be
my
interesting.
thought is still that you know, we've had a couple of comments before about this, and then we also just know that Oda likes to do this, and just the idea that yeah, we're going to get a big celebration, a big party at the end of this, and so and it seems a little ridiculous, like saying it out loud, right? The idea that like that alone would justify the other things that I'm gonna say, right? But considering that, oh yeah, you know, Jinbei joined the crew, we're putting off the party. There's going to be a big party most likely when they succeed here, and all that stuff. It makes it difficult to imagine some of those negative forces being present on the island or still trying to do anything on Wano, right? So I don't know how that ends up playing out, but that's kind of the general idea that I personally am following for the end of the arc, right?
Well, so what could easily happen though is that party actually does happen, and once the battle's over, CP0, like for instance, called for the Marines, but it takes a couple days for them to get there. So the party happens, and then towards the end, when they're about to leave, show up, whatever.
Oh yeah.
That's a way that they could
something
go
like
about
that
it.
would work perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't
so there's ways
doubt
to go
that.
about it.
I don't doubt that whatsoever, right? Because I imagine it'd be very likely, right? Like Wano's liberated from Kaido. Whatever happens, happens, right? Like Wano's basically in a position where it's like, okay, yeah, we're set. We're gonna rebuild our country. We're gonna start working. But there are other forces that show up after a short break that are chasing after Luffy, right? And they don't necessarily have interest in Wano because kind of Kaido's forces have been taken out.
Well, they do have
Actually-
interest in Wano.
Actually,
CP0 has huge interest in Wano.
Even the Marines do. They all want the fucking sea stone.
Well, that's all I'm saying.
origins.
In this particular respect, I would lump CP0 and the Marines just together at that point, since
I
they
would
both
too,
benefit
yeah.
anyway.
So
But
you,
yeah,
you get what I mean, though, right? Like where there's like what Red suggests. It's like, well, maybe there's like a short break where
Well,
that's not happening at the moment.
even with if the party, like, even if it wasn't a short break, I think there's like what Bean said earlier, with in terms of like subversion, we always get the parties and chill and whatnot. We could have the party happen, and then mid party we get like a raid on the party itself.
Yeah,
that would be
well,
interesting.
that's possible for sure.
We've never had that. We basically did that to Big Mom. We've never had that happen to us, right? So that could be a situation.
no, that's totally reasonable.
And that would be an interesting callback to how they put the party on hold when Jinbei got back.
Yeah.
So I have to point this out. I went and looked up the SBS about Luffy with Gear Fourth and everything,
Yeah.
and we were wrong. So Oda actually states that the fatigue thing never existed in the first place, and he can just run if he has to.
Can you post the SBS?
That's what I was trying to say.
Wait, before you say anything, can you post the SBS? Because I
But-
remember the distinction.
Adam
being-
and
Yeah.
Red told me,
Yeah, no,
oh
so-
no, that's
No,
not what he
post it.
said.
No, I don't want to hear you explain it.
hang on,
Post
hang
it.
Yeah, well, go ahead and post it. Let's fucking read them and weep. Read them and weep, dude.
Dun, 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 dun,
It's
dun.
actually incredibly direct.
The trade-off of not being able to move that you're referring to never existed in the first place. If he wanted to move but couldn't use Haki during that time, he could still run from place to hide. In Dressrosa, after using Gear 4, he coincidentally ran into his allies and supporters so he could preserve his energy while they carried him to the next fight. If these people weren't there, Luffy would just have to do his best.
Wow.
So we thought the.
Did I read a different translation?
No, it's just we thought the do his
I think
best.
you're
was-
just you were
No,
just
because
right that do its
I had
best.
because I had arguments about it when this entire thing was first translated. I was in defense of that. It still was a fatigue thing. So I think I might have like read an initial translation that wasn't this one. That
Maybe.
might have worded it a bit differently. Because this
Yeah,
is
I
this is pretty
totally forgot
straightforward.
that he like answered that directly too. I thought he did the runaround with if he just if he didn't have friends. he'd
Maybe it
have
was
to
like a
cry.
Sandman translation or whatever the fuck it was.
Oh, yeah.
He
Some
doesn't,
shit
he
like
doesn't
that.
usually do those, but
Yeah. I mean, this is 3 years ago, but yeah.
anyway, Cope. The next thing we see is wow, Kaido is in
the
his hybrid.
longest waited thing.
Is
Yeah.
that his
In a
man
long
beast
time.
form?
Kaido in his hybrid, and we get to see the silhouette here. As far as just the silhouette goes, I think he looks great. Just,
I can't tell anything's different though.
I mean, what we can tell,
Well, you
number
can see his
one,
chin.
we can tell that he's
the
very
nose.
tall, because Big Mom is fucking huge,
They're usually around
and
the same
she's
height,
floating on Zeus, and Kaido is standing up, and
right? You could see his tail on the bottom right of the panel too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's
he's-
true, and I
I
did
thought
not
that was
think
his
about
cape.
that.
I thought that was his cape.
No, that's totally.
it could be a cape, it could be a tail, whatever it is. He's just very big, and he, his silhouette, it looks great. I'm very excited to see.
There's
what it
spikes on the
actually looks
top of
like.
his head.
He's still got the
You know what?
horns.
You are absolutely right.
Yeah, he's huge. He's like very
Mhm.
very big in this.
his
form.
nose is protruding more as well as his forehead. You can see his chin as well. There's noticeable
Yeah, and the horns and everything. The size, I didn't think about that at all. But yeah, you're totally right. Big Mom is about Kaido's size.
Yeah, Big Mom's like 30 feet tall, right?
arguably
and,
bigger,
and then on
arguably
top of
bigger
that,
than
she's on top of Zeus, and then Kaido in this form is like you
He's,
can
like,
see
slightly
he goes
taller, yeah.
below that, where it's
mean,
he's
He
just
could be on a
very
cloud,
tall.
but yeah, it looks like he's just
Oh,
standing.
why
mean,
would he
I-
be on
I
a
mean-
cloud now?
Well, you
I mean,
could
it's
see
like-
where his tail is, so he's likely not on a cloud since
Well, the clouds are on his feet.
tail or cloak
I,
or
I
whatever.
no,
also-
what I'm saying
I
is
don't
that
trust Oda's
based
size
on-
anyway.
what I'm
Well,
saying
yeah,
is based on
his
what I'm
sizing-
saying is based
his
on where the tail is at. That's like where his hip would be. So he's not like on a cloud standing up higher. His legs go even lower than the panel.
He's
you know?
he's not standing on a cloud. That's silly.
Yeah.
But no. I mean, I don't trust his sizing either, Adam. But what it looks like here is that Kaido's like significantly bigger than his normal form.
Yeah,
Basically.
which makes sense. It would have
That's
been
all-
weird
that's all
if
it
he weren't a fucking giant, given that he was the size of the village in his full form.
His man beast form is pretty cool. Yeah.
And anyway, it's bad news for everybody on the roof as well, right?
True.
Everybody's beaten up. They're struggling.
It's time for your
Luffy's
strongest form to show up.
Yeah, Luffy's like out of Gear 4th, and then Big Mom and Kaido are just like laughing and saying this is fun, right?
And as someone in chat has said, and the third door is still closed. Jack.
I mean, I think that's just when Law came through, and Law is more casual about it.
True.
Yeah,
good
Law
point.
opened it, closed it, polished it.
No,
he
he
cleaned the
teleported
dust
through.
off of it.
But what about the doors? What's up with that? Is that
Yeah. I guess a lot of people think that it's trying to signify that something else is going to show up eventually, just because one of them is still closed and the two others are broken open. Whether
Yeah.
that's actually intended or not, who knows?
The thing is, like, somebody else could show up. Some other thing could show up. Some person from the bottom could show up. Somebody new could show up. Any of those things could happen. But it's difficult to imagine that, like, oh well, this is how Oda's going to hint at that is by having a closed door shown in this panel. It seems a little bit of a stretch. I mean, maybe it's intended, but it's a coin flip at best, right?
To be fair, it is like focused on the three of them, very specifically. It's not like just by chance, right?
It's a coin
So
flip.
who
man.
knows?
It's
Yeah.
like it's just like at the only thing I can really say is like, oh yeah, he's showing a bit of Onigashima, right? He's showing the roof, he's showing the rooftop, he's just showing some of that and a bunch of clouds, and because the scene is changing from CP0 to the rooftop, he's showing the rooftop, right? Like that's like the immediate thing, and it's like if you want to like go further than that and start going into kind of theories about like, well, someone might come through that door. It's like, yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah, it's possible.
I
I don't
think
think
that's
it's
unreasonable.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a one way or the other thing. I
Yeah.
think it could just be a panel that he just for like atmospheric effect, or it could be like something
Yeah,
that he
I mean,
wanted
we're
to draw.
switching settings quickly.
Yeah,
Here,
exactly.
Which is so it could
Um,
just be that. That's all.
Yeah. So before we move on though, I do want to point out that Yamato and Ko are still by the dragon statue.
And it looks like they got found by somebody, is what I wanted to mention.
Yeah. So they're
Mm.
fighting someone. They're like surprised that someone had showed up in the background.
Yeah, they aren't talking anymore. Something happened. And
Mhm.
like Fukurojo or Orochi showed up or something. I don't know.
yeah, but how could
someone.
Fukurojo have been there when he was busy crying over the Skybirds in chapter 1004?
Whoa, spoilers, bro. We're not there yet, man. Come on, come on.
him and those big earlobes. Am I right, fellas?
All right, all right. In that note, let's move on to the next chapter. I say.
Yeah.
We could talk about like theories about the hybrid form
Oh, we
stuff
can
at
go.
the very end.
Yeah, we can go
At the
back
very
and
end.
forth. We can go
Yeah.
back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. So Millet dumpling.
Millet.
Millet. Yeah. Fucking Kiwi Dongo. Fuck this. Uh, yeah. So
We got
they
a
eat
monkey, a squirrel, and Chopper,
a monkey,
all being gluttonous, and
monkey,
just-
squirrel, and a raccoon.
yeah.
Yeah, and we all knew it was coming. We all knew.
Yeah.
But
It's pretty clear that it was going to happen eventually. So I guess we'll just dive into it.
Yeah, we go oh, normal dumplings. Oh, speed. This is exactly, we've all talked about this before. How
Mhm.
once we knew Tama was here, we all were like, yeah, Tama has brought her new subordinates to go, and then a lot of people theorize about them bringing around the Dango. And they
One
did.
thing we also did talk about that was confirmed this chapter though is that we wondered like if Speed would still be under her control. Clearly, she still is.
Yep.
Even after all that time later.
Yeah, that's what I always thought. I didn't think there was any time limit. There was no hint towards that or any like reason.
I mean,
lot of
the
people
fruit
just
is
thought
just
it would
very
be a
powerful.
keyword.
Like a lot of fruits are just had like self-imposed limitations on them. Like Apu's fruit, for example, just got like a self-imposed one, which was like, oh, you have to, if you cover your ears and don't hear the sound, you'll be fine. Or like Hawkins maybe has a limit of 10
Yeah, but then
dolls.
there's like sugar.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like,
Yeah, I was gonna mention sugar too.
yeah, I don't know. Like, I never got the impression that if there was a limit, then we would have. I felt like we would have known about it.
The limit
beforehand.
is likely that it doesn't work on humans. That's likely the limit.
Yeah, or like true zones.
Yeah,
I
or
don't
true.
think
Well,
it
yeah,
works on them either. Yeah.
There are two things to consider with it too, because on the one hand, there may not be a limit, but she also could have just been feeding like regular, giving regular intervals of dumplings to Speed and the rest.
I think it's doubtful.
But I'm on board with there not being a limit. But also, if there were, then
Yeah.
Udon wouldn't have been as successful. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
like that's a possibility. I won't deny that. It's like, oh yeah, well, she could have just been continuously feeding her, but that seems like that would have like there would have been some hint at that before, right? Where it was like, oh well, I need to keep giving them this, right? That would have happened. She tamed like several different gifters and several animals. I feel like we would have seen that over the last 2 weeks, right? We would have seen something like that, but
Yeah. And
I
it
think
would have
again,
it would have definitely been a plot point because it would have been just another timer for the arc too, if that were the case.
Mhm.
Like, for sure.
Also, little theory here before we move on fully and start talking about everything else. I think it's a possibility that like towards the end of the arc we get a situation where like all the gifters like join as like members of Wano or like citizens of Wano under Tama in a situation where
Oh,
she's
yeah.
like she like gives them the opportunity to leave if they feel like it and they all like decide against it and decide to stay or situation.
yeah,
like
no,
that.
that was like actually my first thought reading this, right? I was like, yeah, it'd be perfect. Because, not to go too much later, I mean, basically next page, but it's like Tama talks about seeing Wano with Momo as a shogun. She wants to eat all she can, and like having all those people there to help rebuild the country is perfect, right? And they
Yeah.
don't have any place to go once Kaido is done for, right? So it just makes perfect sense that they have all these gifters to help them out with the rebuilding and to work as people who actually help out Wano from now on. It makes
And
it
perfect
almost-
sense. I fully expect that to happen. Like,
I'm sure it's
completely.
going to happen, and it also like
I'd be
kind of
fine with that.
half compensates with the way Kaido wiped out most of their warriors. Well, now here's another.
right, we get a
50,000
new
warriors.
batch. We basically absorb all of those people, and they all help, and Yeah, it just makes perfect sense. Like,
And there's like a chance that they help out
Yeah.
as like a part of the alliance or some shit. Who knows how that would turn out towards
maybe
the end.
absolutely, for sure.
Wano will be, helpful for Luffy in whatever way that Oda wants them to be.
Yeah.
Whether or not they actually go like sailing or whatever, but it's like, yeah, they're definitely like I can't imagine any situation where all the gifters just disappear. They're definitely gonna be helping out on
Yeah.
Wano, and then furthermore, you can take that information with that kind of if you assume that that's a certainty, then it's like, yeah, well, fuck you, Tama's not joining the crew whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, she's just not. Sorry.
True.
Sorry, Ali. Enjoy your fucking 6 months of
Factual.
leave, bitch.
Factual.
Damn. But you know what? Oda's actually covered all of his bases here because between fucking what's her face, the
Go.
Dango lady,
Tama?
Tama.
Yeah.
Between Tama and Chopper, they've
Really?
got the enemy samurais now like in debt for Chopper curing them of the virus and everything.
Mhm.
With the non-gifters
And
kind
Tama
of
getting the gifters, yeah.
yeah, and then
Oh,
Tama's
yeah,
got
that's a good
the crew
point.
under wrap.
It's perfectly set
So-
up. Like, once
Yeah, it
once
really
Kaido and the big boys are down, it's like everybody's in a position where, they're just like, well, we're sorry and we're gonna help out. Basically.
And it's going to be accepted because it's Kaido and Big Mom. They kind of need it.
Right. There is one other significant thing that, at least, it popped in my mind, and the idea was that, oh shit, Jesus, I think I just lost it. Oh yeah. No. Okay, so we get the little flashback here of Speed thinking about Tama talking, oh, nobody wants me to go to Onigashima. And one of the major thing, and this is later in the chapter, obviously, but the silhouette, right? People are talking about Hiyori going to Wano, or going to Onigashima, sorry. And I wonder, it's like, if Hiyori didn't hitch a ride with Tama, then
Which I don't think she did.
what did she do? Because it does not seem, if Hiyori was going with you would imagine she would go with Tama, right?
Okay,
Well,
Hori does not even know
clearly-
Tama exists. She doesn't even know who she is.
Well,
Clearly, what happened? That's clearly
said,
what
well,
happened.
wait,
is she
wait,
used
wait.
her time fruit to
Okay,
drive
okay.
the ocean
Okay.
and then
the,
walk across herself.
God
the
damn
bullshit aside, though, like, I had, and this is like heavy my head canon, but I had the
Yeah, yeah.
impression that like Hitetsu and Otoko and Hiyori and potentially Tama had like been kind of in the same spot for a bit.
No. Hori was never there, ever.
I was
Well,
under the
but I mean,
impression that
who is
she
she
probably just
with?
got her
Who
ass
is she with
ejected.
then?
I
She
think
was
she's
just
probably just
completely.
rejected.
By herself.
She was just
No, she
totally
was with-
alone.
No, she was with Denjiro.
No,
No,
I'm saying when Kawamatsu was like, okay, we're gonna go reunite with all the boys, and she was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that, and then I'm gonna go back to Snowland, which I don't
Oh.
remember what it's called.
So like recently, not like as she's been living in Wano for the last 20 years.
No, yeah, recently. It's
We're
like,
talking about
what
how
was
she
she
also
do? Was
got-
she just totally alone, defenseless? Like what?
Yeah.
She may have
But
been.
like, how would Kawamatsu let that happen? Like,
At the
was there
end
not?
of-
Was there not
Well,
some?
At the end of Act 2, we see the fucking shamisen player, who I'm pretty sure we're all supposed to assume is Hiyori, at the capital.
I don't
She said
think
that
so.
she was in the snow
Yeah, it was
area,
just
and then
different.
Orochi as well said that she was in the snow area at the beginning of Act
No.
3.
That's because Kanjuro is the one that fed him that information.
I mean, yeah, it could be wrong. That's fair.
Kawamatsu. So let me pull up the Hiyori panel. I'm pretty sure she literally just says, "All I can do is not meet with people before a war." I'm pretty sure that's literally all she says. I don't think she even says where she's going.
But
Yeah,
she
I-
can't be
I-
in the
I don't
capital.
know.
That'd be a really bad idea.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
we usually
her
do,
being
leave
in the
at end.
capital. I mean, yes,
we're
it's a
gonna
bad
look at
idea,
that
but
first.
like there is reason for that. It's like, oh,
Do
well,
you?
Well, being like the
we've all
Shami player,
theorized
I
about
mean.
like her like helping to evacuate the people in the flower capital when the island gets close. So there's that. Like there's
I honestly figured she'd end up rallying them together,
Um,
just like her dad would have, since Orochi and Kaido are on another island and she knows what's going down.
Exactly.
we-
That's exactly what I think.
So hold on. Do we want to pause this and actually get through the chapter first before we start screaming about this stuff? 'Cause
Yeah.
we're gonna go on
That's-
forever about this.
I got panels to find anyway, so.
Yeah. So let's move on. Daifugo's running through, doing he's fucking running on the walls. I guess can scorpions climb on walls? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they can. Yeah.
Okay, so he's running on walls, making people eat shit, yada yada, and then we get to Frankie versus Sasaki, which is pretty cool. Frankie Sasaki's just like fucking tanking his general lefts and whatnot. Cannons hit him in the face, and he's just running through. Sasaki's kind of a tank.
Yeah, I
You know,
mean,
this is
Sasaki's
real
a tank, but I
Frankie,
mean, look at what Frankie did. Sasaki went in, he tried to hit him in the chest, and Frankie grabs it and just pushes him aside and fucking tosses him.
Yeah, he lifts him up by the horns and throws him against the wall.
Yeah.
General Frankie.
That was like super big, dude. I don't know. Frankie's really putting on a good show here.
Yeah, man, that Wapo medal. That's all it is, really.
Listen, man, I'm gonna be honest. This is General Frankie's work. I mean, honestly, any sort of suit of armor or any sort of sword, those are all just like not capabilities of the user themselves.
Yeah, dude, totally, man. Like the raid suit, just has nothing
Yeah,
to do with
the raid suit.
anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't this technically basically Frankie himself? Since I don't know, he's a cyborg. I don't know, man.
He's inside
I
of
think this is
it's a
his
joke.
body.
It's a joke. It's a joke. I think anyone that
I
shit
know,
talks,
I know.
I think anyone that shit talks Enma or shit talks the raid suit or shit talks this is stupid.
Yeah,
Aren't
no,
we
it's
all
silly.
just
Silly.
piloting our own little robots, man? I mean, it's
Yeah,
the same
dude,
thing.
aren't we just the soul inside of the flesh?
All right, we're gonna have to save this for the philosophy podcast.
Okay, so yeah, we get cool stuff, and then for some reason he's able to get held down by these guys immediately afterwards. It's like,
Yo, they're strong ass gifters, dude.
Yeah, no,
but
the
so-
gifters.
Sasaki isn't.
we've seen Red that, you know, we talked about earlier. We talked about the idea of numbers overpowering, less
there-
numbers, and then we've
there you go.
also seen like in the past, just generally that like, yeah, the gifters are tough, man. They gave Zoro a fucking problem. They gave plenty of people a problem. They're tough
So-
guys. And
so
so
you
when
know
there's a
what-
you
bunch
know
of
what-
them, when there's
No,
a
I
bunch
get-
of them
I get
hanging
you.
on him, it's like, yeah.
I get you, but you know what I actually think this is? So they're hanging on to him. I don't want to skip ahead. So
You can
let's
skip
move
ahead.
on.
We're talking.
Okay,
We're going through the chapter. We're fine.
So
Everyone's read the
so they're
chapters,
hanging
it's
on.
fine.
So they're hanging on and everything, right? You know, and then not Robin, Nami, Usopp, and Thomas show up. They feed Kibidago to a bunch of people, but they don't feed it to the people on his legs. But for some reason, Frankie realizes, hey, wait, oh, I can move, and then he just jumps. I think that he could have moved the entire time, and he was just like yelling at the people on his legs to get off of him, and he just realized last second, oh, I can actually move if I feel like it.
Well,
That's what I think.
yeah, kind of.
Because they're still hanging on and everything, and he says, "Oh, I can move."
I think what the situation there is that the gifters who are holding on to him are shocked because they see a big fucking horde of the other gifters who were previously allies with them. They were shocked and they were like, "What the hell? What's wrong with you guys?" He's like, "Huh? What's going on? Oh, I can move." Right? Because the panel before that they were like, "Oh yeah, what's going on?" Right? And before that, on the page previously, he was like, "Oh, how are you all so strong? Stop,
Does
let
he say
go. The Triceratops is charging this way." It's like implying, yeah, oh no, I can't move. And then I think those same people who are holding on to him and
Oh,
like,
you're right.
holding
Yeah.
him
I
down,
didn't remember the "How are you so strong" part.
yeah, I think like they just got like shocked for a second because they see this big like horde of gifters and animals all charging. They're like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then Frankie's like, "Hey, I can shake them off now, right?"
Yeah, that makes sense. I
That's-
thought it was just Oda being a fucking goofy.
Yeah, it could be it could be that too. But that was my thought. That was my
Yeah.
initial thought. Yeah.
Because I imagined that Sasaki himself would be like stronger than all of them put together, you know. So I was
Oh,
like, wait, how could he
yeah,
toss
yeah.
Sasaki after being fucking rammed into by him, and then he's stuck on the ground by these guys?
Yeah, I
But
don't
I guess
know.
it's just like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. Frankie had like, he had like 6, 7, maybe 10
Yeah,
people
it's because he
hanging
skipped
on
like
him.
that. It's
Yeah.
because he skipped.
Yeah, that
Well,
makes sense. Also,
how
I
good is
I
that?
want to draw attention to that panel with Tama, Nami, and Usopp.
Yeah. That's why I didn't want to skip it.
Just really great Nami and Usopp sticking out their tongue, and Tama.
As soon as we saw them like screaming for help, I think everyone knew. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna get like a cheeky ass panel, aren't we?"
Help
You know
us!
I love that these pages go straight back into the numbers thing. Look at that. Just we have the advantage of numbers. Yeah, I came here to turn that around. Literally to turn it around.
That was definitely mentioned on purpose last chapter. Exactly.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's
I agree.
Tama is really putting in a lot of work. Yeah, she's her fruit. I mean, we all knew it. You know, as the years have gone on, like the last year and a half or whatever it's been of Wano,
Mm-hmm.
where, yeah, I mean, we've all talked about it. It's like, yeah, Tama being able to tame gifters is gonna be big. It's gonna be big. It's gonna be big. We all were saying that over and over again. It's like, yeah, now it's big. It's big. Yeah, she's flipping like all the major players of the fodder, right? Not fodder, but you know, like the people who aren't not like named, not like super heavily important. They're all getting flipped.
The captain tier, captain level. Mm.
Yeah, they're getting flipped.
Low vice admiral.
Low
level.
vice Yoko
God damn
commander,
it, stop.
vice double, triple, yeah, something.
They got fucking poker. My
Oh
man
my
poker.
Anyway,
No,
Frankie's
that's a
like,
good
oh,
thing.
I can
That means
move.
he survives.
And they got discount Jabra.
That means
Yeah,
they
I know.
survive, Adam.
I know. I was about to mention that, Adam, how that guy looks like fucking Jabra.
exactly like him.
Yeah. Anyway, Sasaki comes in on the next page and he knocks everybody out of the way. Frankie seems to have been jumping out of the way. Sasaki's confused. They've turned coat. Blah blah blah. Page 1 and Ulti show up, and now we're in a position where it's Sasaki, Page 1 and Ulti, Usopp, Nami, Frankie, and Tama, and then the horde of gifters.
And I'm gonna say this.
Now, let me pause right here, real quick. I'm about to vent some hard shade. Everyone who said that Nami can't do a thing against Crocodile,
Wait, what? Crocodile?
against Crocodile.
Crocodile.
That's right.
Oh,
That's
shit,
right, you heard me.
Crocodile.
This
You're gonna
bitch
say
was pushing Gear 4th, and Nami just stunned the shit out of her with one Thunderbolt.
But Crocodile's a Logia.
I mean, yeah, but I can't remember the
She
base.
can make
Yeah,
a
but
raid.
like Nami is like super cool and like attractive and
Oh,
stuff.
that's right. Yeah,
Are
it
you
was Rain
referring
and
to like
Lightning. That's right.
like
that's-
over a year old conversation where there was like some Nami versus Crocodile like fight or something? Where like people were like, "Oh, Crocodile would just beat her before she has the time to make a storm, or he would just walk outside of it." Is that what you're like referring to?
I'm so confused. Wait, why Crocodile? So
yeah,
first
it's like
of all,
back
why
in
do you?
June or something, but it's just. What's up?
So is this like a hypothetical where he wasn't a Logia?
No. So I think the premise was just people were shitting on Nami against Croc for some reason. I jumped in. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
she can like make a fucking field full of rain and then just shoot him with lightning. It's not that easy. It was
No,
all
yeah,
just-
I actually agree with that. I mean,
good
yeah, she just makes a huge amount of rain clouds and it's raining and then Crocodile's vulnerable and then all it comes down to is lightning.
I do
Yeah.
think he'd probably be able to take her out sooner than, unless it was like a situation where
Yeah,
he's
I mean, he-
underestimating her for
Eventually, I'm
20
sure
minutes
he
and
could
then
figure
He'd-
like a way through it, but
yeah.
the general premise was just that people thought Croc would freeze by Nami like he didn't even
If-
exist.
Yeah,
if
you know-
that situation happened where it rained and then she thunderbolted, the thunderbolt would the thunderlance would hurt him. Yes,
Yeah,
it
the-
would
the
do
thing-
damage.
The thing people, this is like we're way off, but like the thing people just don't think about, it's like, you know, when these two random people come into contact with each other, you know, it's not like they're able to understand the other's abilities, right? Like it takes a little bit. You have to figure out what's going on, right? It's like,
Paper
oh, if
beats
it
rock,
were to just
but
start
rock can be-
raining for Crocodile, or even like if Nami, like that's assuming like, oh, Nami knows that like she needs to make him wet to hurt him,
Yeah.
right? It's like that, you know, neither of those things is necessarily true. So it's like the battle can just go whatever fucking way,
Yeah.
right?
Now, I say we get back on topic.
Yeah, I agree.
So here she zaps ulti, and clearly she like actually is hurt by it. She gets thrown back.
Oh
Yada
yeah,
yada.
yeah. She got shocked. She's
And this is
hurt.
Thunder Lance. It's from my understanding, it's like a more pinpointed and dense attack than like a regular lightning bolts. So it's like more damaging to wherever it hits.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
always
lance
my
instead of just a bolt. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. She hurts him. You know what I'm saying? I also wanted to say before we moved on though, when Ulti and Page One show up, Page One's like screaming, mouth wide open. I think it's safe to say that the Dongo don't work on regular zones. See, Usopp's probably tried already. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean there's the opportunity for them to have like not done it or not been able to after like Ulti and Page One saw that like oh
Yeah.
it was working on them, but I really don't think it'd be really shitty, I think, as well, that like if it were to work on them.
Yeah.
Because I mean that what that implies is like yeah, Tama is just about to flip Sasaki, Page One, and Ulti if they can just get the dango in their mouth, right?
Yeah. I
And
think the
that's-
fact that they're still chasing them and on Kaido's side after everyone around them get turned into
Yeah, the
allies, I think it's reason enough to assume that they just can't. I
Yeah,
think we can disregard that now.
and beyond that, it's like yeah, the idea is to flip animals. It's not you know, a Zoan is not an animal. The Gifter is what they are, is like they have an animal like almost like it's as if it was like surgically attached or like part of them.
You know
It's
what?
different than like a true Zoan where
Right.
it's like
That's a good point. And
It's a
in
bad-
that regard, would that mean that like someone like Reiju would be able to get affected by it? That's a curious question.
That what?
why rage
The,
you?
the,
we
the,
don't even
the-
know what Reichu's fruit is.
No, not fruits. They're the whatever factors. What are they called again?
Oh,
Oh,
the
the
lineage.
lineage
Yeah,
factors?
weren't those because of like animals or whatever? They take lineage factors. Of, like,
That's just DNA. That's just Otisway referring to DNA.
yeah, but wouldn't it be like?
I'm
like,
remembering a panel where
I don't remember what it was.
it did talk about animals, but I
feel like I remember
don't think that'd be like, you know, you are an animal. I don't know.
I think it was just they manipulated the DNA, not that they like
Right.
inserted
It's-
animal DNA.
It's
I
like
think
it's like
well, where do they
Reiju we don't know if she has a devil fruit.
we
For
don't.
one. But it's like, you know, let's assume she doesn't and that it was the lineage factor. It's like, well, rather than oh like you know, she's part animal, it's like, oh well, Judge was able to manipulate, like he was able to combine this like strange DNA of like some poisonous thing or whatever and like make that into part of her. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's what I imagined. I imagined it was because it was based on like poisonous creatures or something. That's what I always assumed it to be. Because when it was originally explained, it did. I believe it showed like a string of animals and whatnot while they were talking about the existence of lineage factor and whatnot. So I figured that was like correlating the two, but it could have just been. That's true.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's how I thought of it, at least. It was like, you know, it was like, oh yeah, well we're able to clone and then we're able to like give like more abilities to like a normal human who's being born, and it's like, yeah, I figured that was mostly just like yeah, you know, yeah. It's an interesting
just
question
assumed-
though.
I just
That never
assumed that they
came
were,
to
like-
mind. Like the idea
Yeah.
of that oh, it should be affected by
I just
one of the
assumed that
Dogo.
there are so many weird animals in the world that they probably took like DNA from an animal that like was immune to all poison or some weird shit like that, and like did it in that way. But who fucking. But anyways, that's besides the point. I just wanted to
Yeah.
ask like a question.
Anyway, Usopp goes ahead, shoots a bunch of a dango into random people, blah
We
blah
all knew it was
blah, and then Frankie cuts Sasaki
Cuts
big
Kaido.
time,
Kicks him in the face
gives him a
first,
big
too.
hit.
Zabam.
Oh shit, that was smart. He kicks him to like expose his belly so he can.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he kicks
Well,
he
pulls-
kicks his
he
face
pulls out
up.
the sword, and which is like kind of like a sucker punch when he flips his leg up because he's not expecting a kick, right?
Yeah, he kicks up his chin and then he hits
Flips him on
right
his
in the
back.
belly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not flips him on his back, but at least like puts him upright where he can just cut him right there, where he's
It
not
looks
he's
like
not
he's on his
attacking the
back, but who knows?
shell of like the Triceratops, right? So he's
Yeah.
hitting him in the
Yeah.
belly.
Frankie's a smart boy.
Yeah,
This
Frankie's
well,
fucking
this is
putting in some
basically
serious work.
Frankie. This is Frankie fighting against himself in a way, because this
You
is
cut
his
out. What'd
exact
you say?
strength and weakness, like for the last how many years, you know?
Oh, his back, yeah. Which is like
Yeah.
the opposite, where this guy's weakness is his belly or
Yeah,
whatever.
so I'm sure he's like well versed in how to hit the weak spots on Sasaki after that.
Yeah,
makes
Frankie
sense.
has been putting in some pretty serious work. You know, he ran
so
over Big
underrated,
Mom, and
dude.
then he was about to blast her with a laser, and then instead decided to use it on one of the numbers. And then since then, like he's fighting a top executive of Kaido, and
He
yeah.
didn't even flinch, stared down Big Mom dead in the eye, and said, "Fuck you, eat my laser." I love this man.
He's cool.
Yeah, he's been putting in some serious work. I can't wait to see this animated. Yeah, it's gonna be fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
So we move on, and then no,
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't. Before we move on, I fucking love how this is like actually shaped like a V. V for
Right.
or whatever. It's so
Yeah, I
cool.
know. Dude, Frankie
Uh,
has like this I feel like Oda like
This is
he
Oda's
makes him like
childhood. That's
he
what
makes him
Frankie
like
is
American.
personified.
And maybe this is like this might be like a stretch. I don't know.
Uh-oh.
I've felt like Oda like puts these like stereotypical American ideas into Frankie sometimes, and that's like what I think of when I see V for Victory. And obviously that's like, you know, a translation of it, right?
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, in that one SBS, he said Frankie was gonna be from the USA, right? Like
Yeah, he did.
Someone asked what their nationalities are, and Oda said like if this was like the real
yeah,
world.
if it was the
would-
real world, yeah. And that's what I think. Like Frankie's just kind of like he's like bombastic and like just very energetic.
He's Ace Ventura.
He acts like this like it's not exactly the trope or the stereotype, but you probably can all understand where I'm coming from when I say like the kind of idea of an American character. Like
yeah, he's a caricature.
yeah, caricature. That's
I mean,
a
dude,
perfect
soda,
word. Yeah.
soda, robots. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
he's just like, you know, yeah. And that came to mind with this translation here, the V for Victory, because that's like a World War II thing, right? Like that's
Yeah, I could definitely
that's
see
like
that.
an American thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have that in a lot of things in Japan too. I think they give nods to the Vita Victory a lot. Like I know in
Yeah, no,
Digimon,
and
there was
you know, when it comes to I mean that like those are the kind of like caricatures, like you said, or like the stereotypes that you would see if you were making someone kind of act in that fashion of like if you were trying to give those vibes, it'd be like that. That's one of the things that would come to mind. Yeah.
and it's really nice that Oda's spin on it is like it pays perfect respect to it, but it's so unique too, and it's really great. I love Frankie's like everything about him, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, look at him. He just fucking sliced this guy up. I mean, this is one of the people who was in line to become one of the all-stars, right? It was Sasaki, who's who. Those two, basically, as far as we as fans could tell, were the two big boys who were like, yeah, we're ready to get in a fight with one of the all-stars.
They were the most willing to climb the ranks or whatever.
Yeah. So Sasaki's not like a weak dude, not whatsoever. Especially, you know, I mean, remember the reveal? You know how huge this guy is? He's like gigantic. He's tough. He was, yeah. So it's just really cool. Frankie's getting a lot of attention. It's awesome. Yeah, he's putting in some work.
Yeah, it's great. And, you know, he may end up doing combo shit against like Page One and Ulti too, because there's no way Page One can bite through his armor. I'm sure that's gonna come up. The Spinosaurus's bite was like particularly nasty, so that's got to be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think, you know, that panel earlier where it's like, yeah, Sasaki he actually hit Frankie's armor, and it looks like he pierces it a little bit, but he didn't pierce it like
Yeah,
that.
like
and then
it did.
Frankie
It's hard to
grabs
tell,
him
it's
and
hard to tell.
fucking throws him away. That he,
Like
Yeah.
casually. I love how
I don't know.
casually
Actually,
he does
I
that.
don't think he pierces it at all. I think so that because of the top of the straw hat, it like looks
black.
like it went up. Yeah, so the
Yeah.
top of the straw hat is black, so it looked like
Yeah.
that. I think he
Like-
just grabs it before it hits.
let me
You
let me clarify
his
like what I mean
ammo.
by pierce. I think he he might have like left
Like a
a
dent,
dent.
right?
Yeah.
Well, no, the
No,
next
no,
panel.
okay, yeah, the next panel, it doesn't look like there's a dent.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that is
Also,
true. That is true.
Having said that,
I think he managed to
this
stop.
is Wobble Metal. So if there was a dent,
Exactly.
it would have just gone back anyway.
Yeah,
Like, it
I was
could
gonna
have
draw
flexed
that
out that shit.
distinction when you were like mentioning him biting through the armor or whatever. I don't think that would be possible because of the Wapple metal. Yeah, like this is. I mean, think of Whitebeard. Whitebeard
Yeah.
couldn't destroy
No,
like an entire.
you
place.
guys are probably right. The reason I had initially thought that like, oh, he might have made a dent a little bit is because of the little crick sound effect, but that's also can be explained by his hand just grabbing onto the horn there, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
maybe it didn't happen. Although
I think
that
what's gonna
said,
happen with it-
you
yeah.
can see like that. You know, it would be difficult to show a dent because the spot where it went to go pierce through was right on that dark part of the straw hat, right? So
Yeah,
it's like
sure,
maybe,
but I
you
think
know,
if it
but
did
yeah.
leave a dent, Oda would show that it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oda
he would've,
would
like-
have wanted
like,
to show it.
emphasized-
Exactly.
Yeah, he
exactly.
would have like emphasized if it dented or something. Yeah.
I want to
You're right,
say
you're right, you're right,
going
yeah.
going with that. I think this conversation. I think this fight is going to be a fight against Frankie not running out of soda rather than him taking damage. I think it's going to be if he can take out Sasaki before he runs out of fuel, because of that Wappo metal factor.
You know what? Did he hit, or did Frankie just catch the horn and throw him away?
He caught
like,
the horn and threw it
mid-charge?
away. He caught it.
No,
yeah.
I mean, like, did Sasaki actually make contact? Because looking at
No.
the panel, it looks like
I
already
think he
holding
made.
I think-
I think he's like just about to or did make contact, but it's questionable whether or not he made a dent.
I'm not sure.
I
which
don't.
one
I don't think he
agree
made
there,
contact.
too.
It's like
Yeah.
Adam.
I don't know. I think he made contact, but I'm not sure. Like obviously, it's hard to tell because it's not animated.
Yeah, I think he made contact too. That's my impression. Is that either he made contact and it just didn't dent it at all, or he made contact and there's like a dent and it wasn't shown, or he made contact and it didn't dent it because Frankie grabbed it quickly enough,
Or he didn't make contact.
or he didn't make contact.
I could see that too. It looks like either he didn't or Frankie grabbed it, because like mid charge he is grabbing the horn, like while Sasaki's still
I
tucked
don't
in the
think
air.
it matters. At the end of the day, I don't think it matters. I think if it did make contact, it still wouldn't have dented it. My thought is because earlier in this entire Onigashima conflict, Frankie did mention like not bringing enough fuel or something like that, or like not having enough fuel to do too much, because when he was talking about him using his laser, if I recall correctly. So I think that's trying to draw attention to the fact that this might be like, can Frankie take Sasaki out in time before he runs out of that fuel?
I like
which
the idea
means
of
that he
yeah.
might not be taking damage, but if he runs out, then he's a sitting duck, right?
Well, no, if he runs out, he can still move and everything.
His armor can't though.
Yeah,
His
and
giant suit of armor, which is
that
when he
becomes the
becomes
trouble.
exposed.
Yeah, because Sasaki is
Oh,
serious.
does that
Sasaki
run
is
full
really,
realistic?
really big, really big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The armor, I imagine the armor is fueled by that soda. That would make sense, right?
Yeah, that does make
The-
sense.
the
I
giant
always
rope.
figured it was maybe just the weapons, but yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my
yeah.
take.
Anyway,
We'll see how it
yeah.
goes.
No, that makes sense. I think that's reasonable. But yeah, let's get on. So then
Black
we
Maria,
see Black Maria, kind of toying.
I
with
love that
Sanji
first
a little
shot.
bit.
Dude. I love that first shot of like the battle with the webs in the background, like on the door. Like no one knows what's
Yeah.
happening inside there at the moment, but it's like ominous in a way.
Yeah, people are fighting
like that.
outside, and then we go inside the room that the webs are on,
Mm-hmm.
and her finger, she's like touching his chin. Did you get it all out of your system?
boy.
Oh, blah blah blah. It's like she's just patronizing him basically.
Yeah.
And yeah,
She's
he fucked up all the
patronizing while
guys.
also acknowledging, yeah. it's-
And by the way, it was confirmed here that, well, at least in my opinion, that guy was a man, the Blacktooth guy, which we did
Yeah.
talk about in earlier.
because of the hairy legs and
podcasts.
whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember that.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, at least implicitly, right? Like context clues makes it seem like, yeah, Or not
So
even
there
that.
were-
It's like,
there
yeah, they
were
would have
men
had
here.
to been fucked up by Sanji for them to.
Yeah.
They would have had to been a man. So.
This is very deliberate on Oda to include men in it to like show the distinction between what he's capable of without his without his like morals, like, or his vows, I guess, to not hit
Yeah,
women.
you know, if there weren't women there, then he would have just fucked their ass up, basically, and then he would have been in a fight with Black Maria if she was a man.
Yeah, and probably would
Yeah.
have been able to hand it her too.
Yeah, no,
I
for sure,
imagine.
for sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
which then we lead into him being tied up and whatnot. This is the result of his pride and all that, which I genuinely appreciate a lot. I know a
Yeah,
lot of people can spin this in like a negative light, but
I
think
know,
it's
yeah, like
positive
a lot of
aspect
people
his
were
character.
bitching about this, but the thing about this is like, you know, and without no, I'm just gonna have to get into it. It's like
Do it.
his character is solidified here again and yet again. And after we've gone through the entirety of Whole Cake Island, where it's basically a test of Sanji's character and his morals, right? We have his chivalry tested, his cooking values tested. Just him as a person is like fully tested to the maximum degree, and he gets through it and he does it again, right? He succeeds. He feeds someone who's hungry, even though it's a Yonko who's going to potentially kill him. The worst betrayal by a female that he's ever experienced in his entire life with Pudding. He gets through that, and he still treats her kindly, and all that stuff. And then we have this, and then we still have people bitching, which is a little ridiculous in my opinion. But yeah, you know,
I think too many people are so focused on like everything about a character is exclusively defined by did they fuck him up or nah, or some shit like that, you know. And like clearly, obviously, he fucked up the dudes, but like
it's
the
okay.
detriment of his character is that he isn't always going to be able
Yeah.
to handle every situation with
It's
this stuff.
It's okay to be frustrated here, right? Because Sanji is in a situation where, you know, he you know, reasonably he would probably be able to take these people out, but he's not going to do it because that's his character, that's his ideology. And that's like one of the big themes about One Piece, right? You know, characters, regardless of whether their ideology is realistic or reasonable or not. And that's one of the big things is like also with Ace at Marineford, right? Regardless of whether it's reasonable or not, people will literally die for their beliefs. And that happens like many times over the series. And that's the situation with Sanji here, right? Like
He
his
said it in the past. He said he would rather die.
he would
than ever
rather
hit a woman.
die than hit a woman. And like, yeah, that's not reasonable, right? I mean, he literally will die here in in several ways. Like he can legitimately die, but like he's not going to do
And
it.
I think
That's what
something
we love
important to
about his
point out-
character. If you were to
Yeah.
change that, then it would just he would be fucking ruined. He'd be
He wouldn't
ruined.
be Sanji. He'd be another Zoro. He'd just be another Zoro. That's all it would be.
Yeah, he would be ruined if he
Not that
didn't do
Zoro's
this.
bad. Just that. we
But
don't
yeah,
need
yeah,
two of
he
the
would
same
not.
characters.
He would
They're
not be
different people.
him. He would not be him, and that's why we love Sanji, right?
I think something important to point out as well is while he's able to put his pride behind him when it comes to using the raid suit, that's because the only thing it affects is himself. This is something regarding like what it would
Others.
do to the woman itself, right?
Exactly,
The
yeah.
women themselves
Exactly.
and whatnot. Which is sure he could put his own pride behind for someone else's sake, but he genuinely like not only is this like something drilled into him, but it is something he truly believes at his core regarding women and whatnot. Like even going back to like what's her name, fucking Viola, who was acting like an enemy to him, but he still like believed in her tears or whatnot and all that shit, which was to him was more truthful than what she was actually showing outwardly.
Right,
So
yeah.
I think it's cool that all this stuff is continually solidified, even in a situation like this, which then leads into the situation with Robin, right?
Yeah, and I think this is leading into a Robin Black Maria, right? Like that's the immediate conclusion, right? Like Robin's gonna fight Black Maria.
And even more than that, what I think it does here is a lot of people are like, "Oh, hey, Sanji not fighting is putting his crewmates in danger, right?" This is showing here that he trusts his crewmates enough to not let that bother him. With his underestimate Nico Robin at your own peril statement.
Yeah, it's great. It's great, and Sanji is definitely going back. You know, whatever happens, whoever ends up coming in to deal with Black Maria, Sanji is going to come back out and fight somebody else, probably Queen or King, or both of them.
Yeah, or it could be like a 2v2 Marco.
Yeah, something like that, right? Like that's how I see it going from here on forward, right? Like that's
Agreed.
yeah. So it's great.
Um,
This is great. I would, if
it's
Sanji were to
cool to-
do anything besides this, I would be upset.
Yeah, I would as well.
This really just goes to show the strength of those characters. It is true.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely.
His
Because while
people
he
people
is-
don't think about they're upset about like, oh, he's not fighting. Oh yeah, he's putting me. But
all
the
that
thought
matters.
is, and it's the
Yeah,
same thing with
baby.
Ace and Marineford. I want to continue to make this comparison because people are upset about how Ace died in Marineford. They're like, oh, he was so stupid. He was so fucking dumb. He did this, but the idea
what?
is
You know
that
what?
their
We're gonna get into that
ideals,
After the
chapter.
chapter, yeah.
their ideals. The ideals, they won't give them up. They're literally martyrs for their ideology, right? They would rather die than give up these principles that they have, and that's something that
before-
ought to be respected, right?
Before we move on, though, I think since it was like verbal abuse with Ace's thing, rather than like something that he himself is defending or whatever, I think that's more in line with Sanji giving up his pride and using the raid suit rather than something like this, where it's like he doesn't want to hurt others.
Well, we can get we can go to that.
Yeah, I think
some other time.
that's I wanted to get that.
After
Yeah.
the chapter. After
Yeah,
the chapter. We will be talking about this.
I consider those, it's like the idea that someone's willing to die for their ideology, regardless of how stupid it is.
I do want to say one thing. I mean, so I don't want to like. Well, it would sort of bring politics into it, and I don't really know if I really want to do that. It's sort of like how, so the way that Sanji would basically be, it's basically how an anti-masker would be. I would say. You see what like. So if you have Sanji, he's not fighting because he has the freedom not to fight women because it would only hurt himself. Okay, just like how people would argue, like, oh, I don't wear a mask, it's only hurting me. But the thing is, you not fighting others is also hurting all the other fighters in Wano. That's what. So you understand that, right? That's why people have. That's a lot of people have.
Adam, I talked. No, that's not why. That's an added reason to justify their actual reasoning why they hate it. But I think there are people like you that do actually see it that way. I already addressed that.
That is actually objectively incorrect.
I already addressed that to where he says underestimate Nico Robin at your own peril. It's because he trusts the others. It's because he trusts them enough not to have to take it into his own hands, but also because of his core belief that like women in these situations aren't doing it for like because they're purely evil. There's always like a hidden reason, right? He usually believes the same thing with Viola, where like Viola.
It's Viola, man.
Viola-
It's Viola.
Violet. That's why I say Viola, because Violet. But the reason why he didn't want to hurt Viola, whatever you want to call it, is because he trusted her tears despite her like directly going against his crew. And that goes to show that it's more than just like I don't want to hurt women because that's my morals. It's also that he purely believes that women in these situations are there for a reason. So him doing it is still hurting someone that they themselves are suffering in his perspective in a way. He doesn't know their situation, and
Yeah, I don't know.
That is fair.
I guess it's just
I
the
want
idea.
to,
Oh, sorry. You go ahead. I'm sorry. I've talked enough.
it's all good. I just wanted to address the bit about like him doing this hurts the rest of the war effort. In a way it does, because if he's not kicking ass out there, that's people he could have put down that he isn't. But at the same time, it's not like Black Maria's people are benefiting from keeping him here, really. And it's just like in Innie's lobby, he refused to fight Khalifa, but she was still kept in that room. It's not like she was tormenting the rest of the crew. So
which is
at the
happening
very
here.
least-
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fair trade-off, I feel. Like he recognizes that he can't fight them, but he also has never let anyone hurt his crew because of that. He like goes out of his way to prevent that.
Technically he did. He sort of let Khalifa damage Nami by not beating her. So
You're so annoying.
Yeah,
dude.
I mean,
He
no.
trusted her. He
That's
trusted
fair.
Nami.
That's
the
fair.
whole
That's
point.
fair. That's fair. That's the point that I'm trying to make here is that, yeah, his ideology. Let's be completely real. It's not good at times. It's like, yeah, you know, this woman is going to potentially kill him and kill his friends. But the thing that should be respected and praised about Sanji and other characters like this, and yes, including, and I keep saying it, but it's like, yeah, with Ace too, it's like, yeah, they did stupid shit, right? Like Sanji, you know, if you had just fought Khalifa, then things would not have been so difficult for your
Ace
friends
is
and for
a-
everybody else.
We'll get to
But
that later.
but
Bean, don't worry.
Okay.
it's like, you know, what should be respected is that you will literally, like, the character will literally die for their beliefs, right? Like,
But-
Whitebeard is my father and he can't be disrespected. I will
Fats, I'm
never
with you
kick
there.
a woman. I will
Fats,
never
I'm-
hurt a
Fats,
woman.
I am with you there to an extent, but there is justification in that he does trust his crewmates. In the
No,
same
yeah,
way
no,
that
I'm not
every
saying
Straw Hat
it's
trusts each other.
entirely stupid. It's like, yeah, there's
Yeah.
also that.
But
there's also
Adam,
that to be saying there.
Adam used Nami getting hurt by Khalifa as an example. Sanji himself will not hurt a woman. This isn't like he won't. If Nami and the girl have their own dispute, he will allow them to dispute. It's not like it's different. And
Yeah,
this
now,
is-
Nate,
The
we should-
issue is he indirectly caused Nami to get hurt because he would not deal with Khalifa.
also he
basically.
also trusted Nami in the same way that he's trusting Nico Robin here. It's admirable in that regard. You're pointing out a contradiction that isn't actually like the same type of situation. It's not.
But
valid.
that is fair to say, though, Red. But in response to that, I would say it's kind of the same as blaming Luffy for destroying Dressrosa.
I was gonna get into that. Yeah.
Yeah, or literally anything Luffy does.
So
he
yeah.
always hurts people.
Luffy in many situations puts others in harm's way because he wants to goof off, he wants to do this or that. In the same way, he trusts his crew, and that's why he can do that stuff.
I mean,
yeah,
I
I
was
was
mad
actually
at.
gonna go into that as well.
I was mad at Luffy when he got fucking knocked out by Caesar, and so was fucking Zoro. Zoro got pissed at him and yelled at him for it.
I'm not only talking about that. The fact that he even went to Punk Hazard in the first place instead of one of the safer islands. That's a good example, isn't it?
Oh, that's a great example. Or really any boss fight he has, any fight that he forces, that his crew will naturally fall into. Like Fishman Island, he almost destroyed a whole island. And then in Dressrosa, he almost destroyed a whole island. And then in Whole Cake Island, he wrecked several islands, actually, because it's an archipelago.
And Adam, this is a situation where we are told that the one that is going the craziest, basically, is the most dangerous island. We went there anyways. Are you mad at Luffy for doing that?
Yeah, I think it was pretty irresponsible.
It was
I think. You make
horribly
me so
responsible,
angry,
but
Adam.
it is
You were
the strength of his character.
Oh, Adam, you make me so mad.
No, Adam is right. Adam is correct. It was retarded as hell. It was incredibly
Yeah,
dangerous.
but it's
And
fun.
that's
It's
literally
part of
the
their-
reason they went to the New World.
It's
So we
part of their
can't
character.
really hold it against them.
I can hold it against him because the entire point, the reason Luffy is on this journey is to have fun and experience new things in a way. He's more interested in the freedom aspect of it than just getting the treasure, right? And that is a part of that.
The
that-
excitement. Yeah, he's
Sure.
See, the other
Sure,
thing is
it-
like,
Sure, it puts his crewmate in danger. Sure, but he trusts them enough that doesn't that he believes that they will be able to persevere through something like that. They have shown that he can trust them to where he can be this carefree, in a way, if that makes sense. And the same with Sanji here. Sanji can do these things because his crewmates have shown that they can persevere despite that.
Yeah, that is a really, really huge running theme in the series. Probably one of the biggest, like, top
Sanji
3.
said in Whole Cake Island, I can do this or that, but Sanji, I can't become Pirate King without you. It's that trust in each other.
Yeah, it's in his lobby when Sanji tells Usopp to go rescue Robin when
Yeah,
he really
exactly.
wants to. Yeah.
okay, so hear me out.
Okay.
So let's say that they never took the 2-year time skip and they went to Punk Hazard, and imagine it was the same it was where they went when they went. So let's just say Akainu and Aokiji had already fought, whatever. Let's not get into that. But it was just they would have all died. No
Sure.
questions asked. They would have all died. Who do you think all the audience would blame for their deaths?
Luffy,
Everyone would blame Luffy. That's
but
correct.
what I think is that the entire point of the time skip. I think if they didn't have the time skip and they still went through everything they did pre-time skip, I think Luffy would have been more like wary of doing these things, and that's why he decided that everyone should train before they go. That I think that was the entire point of the
Uh,
concept, is that they
well,
are
it's
prepared.
not why he
He wanted
decided it. It's why Rayleigh told him to
no,
specifically.
but
Yeah.
he still gave Luffy the chance, the choice per se.
Okay, imagine Kizaru and Bartholomew Kuma didn't happen, and Luffy just went straight to the New World. He would have went to Fishman Island. There would have been no crisis there. He would have just left. He would have gone up. He would have saw. He would have been like, "Oh yeah, let's go to Funky Hazard," and they all would have died, and it would have been
No,
Luffy's
I
fault.
agree, but that's ignoring like the character development aspect of that. Where like if he went in the Kizaru and Bartholomew Kuma thing did happen, he would have had that experience to show, hey, we aren't invincible, and we should do this carefully, right? And there's a chance that that's how that would have gone, but that's not Luffy's character. So instead, he decided, hey, we need to be prepared so that we can do what we always do, and not worry about it.
Well,
As
he
much.
was convinced to, but yeah.
He was okay. He was convinced to, but that's he still made the decision. He was told to have the option. He could have gone back if he wanted to
I
right then
mean,
and there. And if he did go right back then and there, I think he would have been more wary. But because he was convinced to train beforehand, that changes. I think you're undermining the entire Luffy's choice aspect. That
well,
okay,
yeah, it was his choice. I just my point was just it wasn't his first choice. He was, the first thing
yeah,
he try to go back is what
okay,
I
yeah, he would have gone back. But my point is that he would have been more careful if he did go back because that experience. But since they trained, he doesn't need to be as careful in that regard because they were all
hopefully,
prepared.
yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully. But
that's the
one
idea.
one thing I do want to bring up, and we really should move on in a sec after this, is we really can't blame Luffy for these things, for the health of his crew, because they all choose and go out of their way to still follow him into every single thing he does.
Not like
Like,
that.
even
They argue against it every time, but yeah,
they do argue against it, but they will never let him go alone at the very least
yeah,
when they notice he's
and
there.
that's just that trust at the hand, you know. It's just how it is. And I think Adam, I understand your perspective, but I think you're in ignoring core values of the series by having that perspective uh, inherently.
They deserve to have characters these strong and personalities this strong because they get to trust each other. That's
Mhm.
I think that's what it really comes down to. Like, because they can compensate for each other's extreme traits, like they're free to have that. And that's part of it. Like, it's the freedom of being on the crew. They're free to be that person. It's
I
it's the
agree.
best part about being a pirate, I would imagine.
Mhm. I agree fully.
All right, but next page.
So detective.
So
They
yeah,
find
now that we're going on, Bao Huang getting her little spotlight here. She's found the scabbards, bruised and bloodied, but still breathing. Beneath
Also,
the roof.
we did skip something though. I think
yeah. What?
a lot of people think that one masked woman is Robin.
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
you're
no,
right about that.
that's like clearly that was last chapter, but yeah, that's not Robin.
No, it's this chapter. It's right here.
It's literally this chapter.
Oh, it shows her. No, but there's
Top right.
The one with the
The
Bell
one
with
where
the
like
wings.
face.
No,
No, the one
take
with the
this
paper
girl
face.
here, and your voice will carry all through this castle. Then I'll set you free. The one that is being told to speak to.
The girl with the eye
yeah,
on
no,
her
that's
face, yeah.
not Robin because of the hair.
I'd
thing.
say the majority of the people that have been talking think that's Robin.
I've
Like
seen a lot
in
of
the
people think that
server,
too.
like in the server, a lot of
I think
people
it's
think that's
possible.
Robin.
I genuinely think it's possible. I don't know if it is.
I would
but
love that
think
as a
it's possible.
twist. Fuck yeah, let's have
Because
Robin
you
use
have
her
her doing that
powers
little
like
dot
that.
dot dot, and Sanji's like dot 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 question mark. So it's like, that's why everyone thinks it's Robin right there.
Mhm.
Like
And I
maybe
think
Robin made like a little mouth or something and whispered in Sanji's ear or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like she can do that.
I think it'd be really cool if like she got to see that line from Sanji, like, ugh, ugh, sorry, directly.
What the fuck?
Like mini burps that force themselves out, bro. It was a little weird.
But funny thing about that scene, I feel like they may be setting something up. I don't think that's Robin, but I feel like Sanji may end up broadcasting something vital in some
That could happen.
way to the rest of the war effort. And that just goes in line with what he usually does in these situations. Like, he usually comes in clutch in some technical way like that.
That'd be really cool. I do wonder how it broadcasts though. Like, how does that work? I thought it was just telling the people that had the mask, not like actually broadcasting through them. It's an interesting.
No,
Who knows how it works?
I think she has a thing. Like, she has an onomatopoeia that says beep there. I think she just has some microphone, maybe.
Oh, that's possible, yeah. But then wouldn't they be hearing the underestimate Nico Robin at your own peril and all that shit too? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, they might have.
Oh, could have. True.
Maybe that's what gets broadcasted.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's genuinely possible that that is Robin. Who's to say though? We'll find out. It's shaded. The hair is shaded similarly to how her is too, but like the white specks throughout it and everything. Um, which isn't how every black-haired woman is typically shaded with their hair, but we'll
Who
find out.
knows?
Yeah.
Luckily, this is not a thing that can
Alright.
get spoiled by the anime. I don't think. So we should be good.
Yeah. We'll find out.
Don't jinx it.
So then we see that they found the scabbards, and there are 10 of them there.
Yeah, well, 9 scabbards.
Yeah, but 10 people.
Yeah, and there goes the big almost reveal, I guess. Shit.
Yeah, Enel shows up.
God damn it, you had to say it.
I was gonna meme a little bit and say, hey, earlier in the chapter, Nami's like, man, I need stronger lightning. so boom, Enel shows up. There you go. There's your stronger lightning.
Enel's crying because he found out Big Mom's lightning is stronger than his.
No. The reason he's crying, he happened to be in the room looking for gold, right? And the reason he's crying is because the island is floating, and he does not like islands floating at all. So he's very upset.
That's a good
and
point.
That's why it's an L.
PTSD from the last time he was on a floating island.
Anyway,
We all know
all the stupid ass theories aside, I mean, you can see the silhouette of the person, and you can clearly tell it's not someone. It's not Fukuro.
It
It's
is a
not
female.
them. It's not NL. It's most likely not Hawkins.
It's most likely is Hawkins.
Yeah, but
why
look
do
at the
you think-
silhouette.
no, no,
Look
no,
at
let's pause, let's pause. Adam, I need your explanation.
not the bottom silhouette. Look
I think
at the
Adam
character
already
there.
knows that. Adam has probably had that conversation already. I need you to explain why you think it's Hawkins based on this panel and what it looks like.
Yeah, let's hear it, dude.
Wait,
Okay.
Fats, what'd you say? Wait, hang on. Fats, what'd you say? Look at what?
The silhouette in the panel below the bottom one, above the bottom one. You could see her hunched over Kinemon.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tiny little lady.
Yes, so it is not Enel. It is not.
I didn't notice that till you. I thought that was Kinemon's knee. Shit.
Well, someone else said the same thing.
No, there's,
Yeah.
there's a ... exclamation mark above her head. So it is definitely a.
Yeah, did not notice that at all. No,
Okay.
it's probably Kiku.
So what's your take, Adam?
Okay, so let me explain it from the beginning. So we have Law and Hawkins back in like 955ish or wherever the fuck it was.
Mhm.
And Law has Hawkins beat up. And we hear Big Slash. And a lot of people are like, oh, maybe Hawkins is dead. And later we see, no, he's not fucking dead. Okay. And then, so let's think about this. Would Law just allow an enemy, a very strong enemy at that, just to allow them to return
I
to their
think-
main forces?
Yeah, I think we've talked on this podcast before about like
Yes, we have.
Hawkins coming back. But
Okay.
why here? Why this situation?
Okay, so here's what it is. So back in like a few chapters ago, Luffy was like, "Yo, Law, teleport these scabbards out," and Law was like, "I was already planning on doing so." So here's the thing: who was Law like working with, or he's working with Hawkins a little bit because we think because it's a good assumption that Hawkins and Law, or Hawkins is sort of like Law subordinate right now. So on the way up, Law told Hawkins to be in this room. So that is why Hawkins is there. It makes, and we know Hawkins is on Onigashima.
That's not what Hawkins looks like.
Okay, wait.
I literally saw the fucking the bottom panel. I was like, oh shit, Hawkins is here. So I was like, man. And then I go in the chat and everyone's like, yo, Hiyori and Enel. And I was like, what the fuck? No.
Okay.
Okay,
so
Adam,
that is
no,
not
dude. I'm gonna post it again. I'm gonna post it in the VC channel. Why is Hawkins crying?
I see it as sweat. He's sweating because he's trying to.
See, now that is just like on another level.
I have
of
never
delusion.
heard. I've never seen this is the highest level of delusion I've seen in my entire life. This Adam, even you must be self-aware about this. You must be
Sweat?
self-aware how delusional.
So,
Sweat?
Wait.
I've thought about it. I was like, man, let's think about this. Could this be Hiyori? And I was like, well, Oda would have to jump through like 3 different fucking hoops to explain how it's Hiyori, and 3 hoops
Same
that
with
would.
Tama, right?
No, Tama wasn't that many hoops. It was just 1 hoop. And it was how she would get onto Onigashima.
Same with Hiyori.
Which
Yeah.
was, so yeah, Hiyori has to get through that hoop.
Mhm.
And then Hiyori has to get, how did Hiyori find the scabbards? That is another hoop she has to go through. And another hoop is, why didn't she rejoin them earlier if she was already planning on going anyway?
Well, the rejoining earlier thing isn't a hoop because Tama didn't have to jump through that hoop.
The rejoining earlier is because she did not want to meet with them before the battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were going to battle, so she could have met up with Denjiro's forces in the forest or wherever they fucking left.
No, because when Kawamatsu offered that, the idea was that she did not want to. The idea of having sentiment before a battle was not good to her, so she specifically was like, "I do not want to meet them at this time."
That's because it was like 7 whole days before the battle, not like they're literally going into battle.
Right. Well, I mean, if she was going to actually head over to Onigashima, then at that point, it's like, she's separated from the people that who know about the plans. She's not going to be able to know like where to meet them, etc. Right. So she would have had to figure it out on her own if she did. Which again, like I really think, the first thing I thought of personally was Suru, but then I realized it was like, oh yeah, well she's way too tall. I don't think that's possible. I also don't think the profile matches. But then like it's
Dang,
like
you're right.
Hiyori feels like safe, but I also want to say that any of the other options are reasonable. Not every single one of them, but
What other option?
well, just I mean,
Hawkins is unreasonable to me.
among
the only reasonable one is Hiyori and Otsuru.
well, people did also mention Toki, which would be pretty.
I guess Toki like
it comes
like,
off as like extremely hack Oda writing, but
yeah.
but there's some world where that's explained properly, right?
Okay.
So like
We
I
need to
don't
go
want to completely.
Words, though.
It's basically when I say what I want to say is I don't want to disregard any of the more reasonable ones because it's like even
That's
Hiyori getting there and having this situation play out is like a pretty far-fetched scenario.
That's, everything you're saying is true. Sure. Well, I wouldn't say that's far-fetched because it's about as far-fetched to me as Otama getting there is. There's
well,
still
that's what I'm
Hitachi
saying. It's like
Oda.
before we
regardless-
knew Tama was coming here, we would have said the same thing. It was like
Okay.
it was like a 50-50 coin flip. It was like
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But there's a very important thing we need to point out. We're arguing about whether it's Hawkins or that is a female silhouette in that panel. That is
I
100%
completely
a female
disagree.
silhouette.
Hawkins
Bro,
is
no,
pretty
you
feminine.
disagree. You
Dude,
disagree
so many
because
people
you
are
disagree.
memeing Eno because it's of how masculine it looks.
No, they aren't. They're doing it because of the fucking hairpiece. Because it looks like
No.
an earlobe. It's exclusively.
Yeah, it's
an
that.
earlobe.
that,
I
that
literally-
hair.
I thought
That's
it
not
was
Hawkins'
I think-
hair.
I think it looks more masculine than feminine. Like that literally. That's my opinion.
You can even see bangs. There are bangs there.
Well, that's. I mean,
The
if
top
you
of the
think
top
it's
of the
more.
bottom panel, there are bangs.
Well, the thing about it, Adam, is like the Hawkins' hair doesn't have those like long that thing
Strand.
hanging there.
Yeah, in
It's
the
like
front.
it's not
That is a
that's not how his hair has ever been portrayed, right? It's always been like tucked behind his back.
In the middle panel on the left page, you can see that it is like the female Wano hairstyle where it's up in the bun in the back, and then the front.
Bro, it literally looks like
I don't
Hawkins'
know.
fucking hair in that panel.
I don't know about a bun.
Oh, you're out of your mind.
I don't know about a bun. I mean,
I
number
can-
one,
okay,
though, the hair is
no,
black.
Okay, I can well, it's literally a silhouette, Bats. That's
No,
not,
no, I mean in the top panel.
no, okay, that top panel, it's like fucking shining. Like it's like it could be Hawkins' hair. It's just because it's so fucking small. That's how he has to fucking draw it.
That's fair.
No,
that's fair.
because it's colored the exact same way that Kiku's hair is right there.
I mean, if it
It
is,
just
if it is
doesn't
like
make
a,
sense for it
a
to be
size
Hawkins to
thing,
me.
I think that's like reasonable.
There
but-
is nothing about this design that is like Hawkins' doll.
The
It
thing is, like, it's like you have to look at that top panel and be like, okay, well, it could be that it was so small that his blonde hair needed to be colored that way, right? And then there's the other question of the size, and then you go back down to the bottom panel, and then you see a face with like someone's gritting their teeth, and then what appear to be tears, and then you have to again assume that this is sweat dropping instead of
Hawkins
tears.
is also 7 feet tall, by the way.
Yeah, but I also don't trust Oda sizes, so I don't count that as a real argument.
Yeah, I mean,
Adam,
you don't trust Odo sizes, but it's like look at it, dude. Like he would at least get it that reasonable. Hawkins
Those are actually all
with the
pretty
like
well.
dot
Adam-
exclamation mark Russell over Kinemon, and then you see that, and then it's like he's also just happens to be
Hawkins?
sweating. He happens
hold on.
he happens to be sweating. He just
He's
happens to be
literally trying-
sweating
He's making his first direct
from his
like,
eyes.
rebellion from Kaido.
He's just
He's
sweating from his
sweating
fucking
from his eyes.
eyes.
Those are teardrops, and the teeth are gritted as if they are crying and holding back the tears. It is literally tears. You cannot.
Dude, the contextual evidence is just like
See,
very plain, very
the
plain.
lip is
That's
quivering.
actually why I thought it was going to be Suitor, honestly. But then
Yeah, no, I thought it
Bats
was Suru
mentioned the
too,
height
but then it's like, yeah,
But-
the height doesn't make any sense because Suru is like
as far
around
as the sizes
Kinemon's height.
go, these are all these are really good sizes. Like it'd be weird for that one person to be disproportionate when the rest of the scabbards are like perfectly relative to each other.
Adam, the elephant in the room. You want it to be Hawkins, so you are ignoring any fact of evidence that is against it, and you were trying to sway it into another. Just a minute. Just say it. Just say you
No.
want it to be
So-
Hawkins.
All right.
So
Let's go back to.
here's what let me explain it. So you know how like some people think Orochi is dead and they have their thoughts on it and stuff. Do you think Orochi being dead is a reasonable thought to have?
Yeah, no.
Yes.
Okay, well,
Oh, I want to
I
toss
think
something
I
in
think
here
Orochi
regarding
being
that,
dead
and Adam
is
was,
reasonable.
Orochi being dead is more reasonable than Hawkins being this woman.
Dude, here, let's just. I understand the logic here,
I
but
have created a better reason for Hawkins being there than Hiyori. That is like literally like a fact, an objective fact.
Because we
okay,
don't know
yeah.
about- we don't know about Hiyori.
Okay.
You're like, oh, law.
No, wait, let me-
Let's chill. Let's chill.
Hiyori is.
Listen, dude. The thing is, it's like, okay, if Hawkins being in that place and time makes more sense, but the idea that I have is like going based off of the two silhouettes that we have, that being Hawkins, why? To assume that is Hawkins sweating rather than a person crying is very, 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 it just does not make sense. Right? To assume
It's a
that
bit
is like to make a huge stretch of you'd have
Why
to
would
jump
they
through
sweat there in the
a
first-
huge like it's mental gymnastics Olympic level to assume that that's sweat rather than tears.
It is literally like purposeful ignorance, Adam. Like purposeful ignorance.
Well,
you are
let me
ignoring,
read
you are ignoring
on
evidence
the-
in front of you because
When
you
I
want
first
it.
read the panel, I was like, oh shit, this is Hawkins fucking
Just
sweating
'cause-
over betraying Kaido.
Just because
And
that
I
was
was
your
thinking, like-
assumption doesn't mean it was reasonable. You're stupid.
No, and then I thought about it. And then obviously I come
Damn it,
into
Red.
that. I'm like, well, here's Hiyori. I completely understand the Hiyori argument. Like I obviously I can see that. Oh, it's definitely possible. It's Hiyori crying. I'm not like
More
I'm
likely.
denying that's definitely possible.
More likely, yeah.
And I like it just depends. So like Oda would like I've discussed this a lot. Like she gets to jump through those two hoops, which I don't think he can unless he gives Hiyori a fucking devil fruit. Maybe he
So-
fucking will.
In that argument, I think it's very important to remember that we don't know where Hiyori is, what she did, where like you could assume that
Okay.
she did this or that after that, but we have not seen it. We do not know. We do
So
not
the
know
last
who
time we
with.
see her is in the Capitol. I posted it in the staff EC, so
look
you can look there.
Well, assuming
No.
that's her
We
playing in the
don't.
Capitol,
We
yeah.
don't know that's her in the Capitol. No.
Well, if you do, that's even more unreasonable than what I'm saying, in my opinion.
No, yeah. Assuming that's her in the Capitol, that's fair. But
I think
see, here's
Hiyori
here's
in
a
the
way she
Capitol is
could have
more
gone.
more likely than that not being Hawkins, in my opinion. That's like how how easily discerning that is that's Hiyori.
What I think is very important to remember is that the shamisen player, it's themselves, is a narrator. They aren't actually like the person there. This is like whenever the act opens or closes, they show a shamisen player that could be Hiyori, whoever. It doesn't really matter because this isn't like a canon thing that they're like talking about or whatever. This
Dude,
is.
you think they hid their face on purpose? You think they didn't hide their face on purpose? Like this is literally Hiyori playing. You know it is. You just don't want. You're in denial if you don't think that's Hiyori. That's just legitimate.
No, well, it could be, but it's
saying
just
that this isn't her canonically at this very moment being in the story at the Capitol. This is just her playing the shamisen, being the narrator. That's it. This wouldn't be like a situation where like this is where her canonical location at this very moment.
I disagree. I completely
It's just
disagree with
act
that
opening and closing.
I
It's just
completely
act
disagree with
opening and
that
closing.
statement.
Always how it is. It's just
Completely
very okay.
Oh wait, was that when was that?
It's the end of X.
That one you
See,
posted
like,
there.
I think there's like a lot of like reasonable things that you've said, but the big thing is just right on the page, like to assume that somebody is there and they're not crying but they're sweating, or it's like something else than that.
And their lip isn't quivering while crying.
It's just the context clues there seem very blatant, and to try and assume that that's not the case makes everything behind that seem less and less reasonable to me. You know what I mean? It's just very difficult to imagine someone like Hawkins there and Oda having drawn like these little specks, right? Like I saw Arsold trying to argue that it was like blank, it was like white space or whatever, that they just weren't, it wasn't really anything. But I mean, what it really looks like is it's somebody crying and gritting their teeth because the scabbards have been defeated and they're upset about it, right? Given the context clues of everything here, somebody is attempting to save the samurai. They're there, they're trying to help Kinemon, and they're upset. They're gritting their teeth and they're probably crying. And given all of those things, right? Like how can you imagine that to be Hawkins unless he has some secret backstory with the scabbards, which just goes into that? Or like, you know, how can you imagine that to be any of the other ridiculous characters that have been mentioned? Like Hawkins is obviously significantly more reasonable than somebody like Enel, but like even somebody like Toki has more reason to be there and be crying than somebody like Hawkins, right? So Hiyori makes a lot of sense because she's around, she has been there, she talks about wanting to kill Orochi. You know, we don't know how she got there, but like we didn't know how Tama got there, right? You know, it's just all those things put together. It just makes it very difficult to imagine somebody who doesn't have a strict connection to the scabbards being there doing that, right? That's the significant thing for me. It's just very difficult to picture that.
You know, now that I see her face again, I can actually see that being more her like little hair bang.
Oh, it absolutely is, yeah.
Giant bang things. And then like you can kind of see the bangs on the top of the nose of like where it would meet her forehead, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess she is Zoro size, or like smaller than Zoro, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I could see it being Hiyori. I really can't see it being Hawkins. Like maybe it is. I'd be okay if it is, because I fucking love Hawkins. I love when he's on screen. I'm good with that. I don't know. Like Hiyori seems the obvious, like the low hanging fruit answer, you know. And not in a bad way, but just it makes the most sense for it to be her.
It is like as currently, like I don't want to say it obviously is her, but it's like it's the easiest answer. And then furthermore, you know, like one of the questions people ask is like, whoa, why Silhouette Hiyori? But it's like, well, because we haven't seen her in a year.
It also doesn't take that long to sail to Onigashima.
It doesn't.
The only problem is she would have had to have gotten there before Kaido made the island lift off, which is fine.
Yeah.
If she'd left later, she could have just hitched a ride from the Flower Capital, like even on an enemy ship. Because remember, she's still Boa Hancock levels of hot to everyone.
Well, I think another thing really important to remember is that Komurasaki being assassinated and whatnot was being trying to assassinate Komurasaki was like kept under wraps. Right? That's like not a thing that all Kaido under. I'm sorry?
It was public news. They had like a public funeral for her and everything.
Oh yeah, no. What I meant was like her like it being done by
Oh,
Orochi's.
like the ninjas?
No, it being done by Orochi's order is not known to anyone under Orochi except for the ninjas themselves and like not Denjiro, fucking Killer and all that shit, you know? So it's like if hypothetically one of Orochi's underlings saw like, "Oh wait, she's alive. What the hell?" Her being like one of Orochi's like right-hand women in like talking to them and being like, "Hey, let me hitch a ride." They would allow her to. They would allow her to ride on their ship to mainland Onigashima under that circumstance. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
see, I can see her just convincing them just because she's drop dead gorgeous in general. Honestly, that's where I was going with
Yeah,
it. Like,
she could go
they
that
make
route
it
where
a
like
smile and
the way she was like tricking
hard to
Golden and stuff like that, all that
yeah,
stuff.
especially Kaido's man, like especially. But I don't know. I can't see because Orochi didn't send them after her for being Komurasaki, right? Or he
No.
didn't know that she was Hiyori or that she was alive or anything, right?
Well, she remember when like early on when she first met Zoro, she was being chased down
Yeah,
by
by
Killer.
Killer. Was that
That
what was
was
that
that was
for?
that was after she slapped him and then ran.
Yeah, but
When Robin saved her or some shit, or when someone saved her, I don't remember who.
yeah, but they thought Komurasaki was dead because Denjiro had supposedly killed her like right in front of Orochi. So weren't they going after Toko? Or
Um,
am I mistaken?
I don't remember anymore. No, you're right. They were going after Toko. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. So they didn't even know that Komurasaki was alive or Hiyori was alive in the first place.
So who was sending ninjas and why?
That was after the they rescued Otoko again after her father died. She was there, and they ended up going after Hiyori in that situation. I don't remember why.
Oh, because Zoro. They were going after Zoro,
Oh
right?
yeah, they were like that girl was with Zoro, I think. Yeah, or
And
something like that.
Toko. Oh wait. Orochi really hated Toko too
Yes.
because of
Either
Komurasaki
way,
dying.
the point is that nobody knows that Komurasaki is like against Orochi or anything like that. None of his underlings except for like the big top ones. So if she could be able to convince one of his like lower tier underlings to take her there by saying like, "Hey, I'm Komurasaki. I'm the head. I'm like the big boss around here when it comes to the prostitutes and shit like that." And they would take her like without batting an eye because I mean that's the entire point of the Fire Festival, right? Bring the prostitutes over and all that
You know
shit.
what? That actually may end up being a thing too.
Yeah,
I would love if Black Maria ends up being Hiyori's best friend secretly, just because of the whole prostitute thing too.
that would be interesting. They probably do know each other, or like acquainted pretty closely. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, she runs the brothel on Onigashima, and Komurasaki was the premier chick. So
it'd be an interesting dynamic to see. Which is actually that's perfect because she's on her way there right now, too.
yeah.
So there's some more reasoning for you, Adam. I guess that helps. at
Well,
all.
see, I won't deny this part. Okay, so my initial thoughts was that Hiyori would give this huge speech in the Capitol, but I can see now that there's definitely a possibility that Sukiyaki / Hitetsu will take over that role
Mhm.
for instead of Hiyori. So I definitely think it's possible that that's Hiyori. There's probably a good chance it's Hiyori, but I think it's also a good
Okay.
chance that it's Hawkins.
You had me.
There's
I'll
a
say,
chance.
we've had a couple of red herrings here over the lot, like during this arc, that have come into play, and I think it's not.
Wait, hold on. We had the big one, which was Denjiro had the same silhouette as Kamazo, so obviously we were supposed to think that Denjiro and Kamazo were the same person, but they weren't.
Well,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
the other ones are like I think of like Marco being a big red herring, where it's like, yeah, well, I'm not gonna go, but
Yeah,
like,
that was a
and
bigger red herring than
that
Denjiro was,
and
possibly.
it's well within the realm of possibility that this is one too. That it's like, yeah, like it really is. It's like, yeah, well, this is not somebody who's actually crying over the scabbards, as it immediately appears. That could be something else. I don't want to say like that's completely ridiculous. Although, like when I think about it, it's like, yeah, I mean, it just it's like I'm saying, well, it's not completely ridiculous, but in my mind, it's like, how can I even begin to justify that being the case, right? Like, it'd have to be just a flat out red herring, for it to not be somebody who has like a personal relationship with the scabbards in my mind, right? So it could be that. That seems like the easiest answer, or it could be something where Oda's just flipping us the bird, and it's like, yeah, dude, we're doing something totally different, and you got fooled, basically. And that I think is also an option. And somebody like Hawkins would make sense in that case because Hawkins is on Onigashima, and we also have things to consider like Law's, potential. At least in my opinion, like Law had that plan that he talked about. It seemed like he had a plan outside of just the raid. Like he was doing his own thing. Like there's a couple of different elements where it's like, yeah, well, maybe there's a reason that it's like that. I don't know. Maybe Hawkins had enough of a relationship with Denjiro or something like that. Jeez, I don't know. Like there's like there's a ton of different situations where that could make sense for Hawkins, but yeah, at least as I see it, it's like, yeah, well, right
Listen,
now
Fats,
it looks more
I
like
don't
somebody else.
listen. I know Adam's your friend and all. I don't think you gotta help give him some outs.
I'm not saying
So
yeah,
here's the
I know
thing.
you're joking,
If
but like I'm legitimately saying that. It's
There
like,
if
is
we had
a
ever
chance of
we
it,
had
and
ever
that's
seen
not.
that Hiyori and Law had ever met or even known about each other's
No, they don't
existence,
need to. Oh, you're so. I actually wanted to touch on this. I don't. I think Law. I think Hiyori showed up afterwards. I think Law actually just brought
Yeah,
them
it
below the
sounds
roof,
like you're
and then
arguing
they walked
just
up after.
assuming that this was coordinated by default, but
Law
he,
saying
they
well,
could
he
just.
so
planned to
the
was like
issue is
was tsundere
we
thing.
need
Not
so
like a,
obviously Law had to find some place to put them. Like that's
it,
like a
it
thing.
says directly under the roof. When
Yeah.
they talk about their location, it says below the roof. So it is literally right under them.
Yeah, and it's in a room. Like they all landed in the same fucking place.
Location beneath
Well,
the
yeah,
roof.
why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
No, but why wouldn't they land in it? He's not going to separate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
choose where they
Red's basically saying they're literally like they just fell from the roof and they all happened to land in the same room instead of Hawkins fucking placing them there.
They
Basically,
didn't. He did. No, Hawkins didn't place them there. Law placed them there.
that's what I meant. That's okay. I meant to say Law placed them there
Yeah.
under
Well,
the roof.
yeah, but what's the difference? Like, yeah, whether they just fell through or whether Law just tossed them in a random room, like
And then how would Hiyori know that they're there? That is the other question.
She probably just
That
stumbled
no one
upon
had,
it. Oda
no
does
one
that all.
has an answer
Oda does
to.
that all the time.
Yeah,
Oda
that'd be
stumbles
absolutely
upon.
stupid. That would be absolutely stupid. That's
Yeah,
why that's another big reason I can't accept it's Hiyori.
Okay,
is
but
that
Adam, I think you need to remember. I think you need to remember that you complain about stuff like that almost every chapter. Those quote unquote stupid things happen all the time in Oda's story.
there are
So
actually a lot of ways that she could have known, like observation hockey, fever cards.
hey, let's stop.
I'm just saying.
Scared, man.
There are elements in the story that can justify.
you mean
it.
like when Nami pulled out the other half of her Vivri card back in Whole Cake Island?
Adam,
That
you're justifying my point. You're justifying my point. Oda does it all the time, where like someone will stumble upon something that they want to find, like right, very, very easily without it needing to be like some planned thing. Oda does this. This is what he does within his writing. It's not like a justification why it can't be that, because that is something that Oda does.
It also could be that Law like coordinated with whoever this was. It's just that that's not an absolutely sure thing. Is all. We can't sit here acting like that's what was established. That's all I'm getting at. Like,
yeah,
they
that's
could have
kind of
coordinated
that's
a
the
cool element too, but as far as we know, it just happened.
that's kind of the conclusion I want to arrive at too, because it can just be something else. You know, for a long time before Wano, was of the mindset where it was like, oh man, these theories are silly, they're ridiculous, and there still are ridiculous theories. But Kaido lifted up Onigashima into the air, and like it's just like really anything is has a possibility of happening. I don't want to completely discount it because it's like, come on now. Basically everything that we never expected to happen has been happening in this arc.
That's I totally agree, but we have a silhouette that has like clear signs of it not like this is 100% not. Like we have a silhouette that contradicts everything about Hawkins' visual character.
As far as I see it, I agree, yeah. But maybe there's some remote situation where it was like a complete red herring. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, it's not likely. It's not likely to me, like in the slightest. But is it a possibility? Yeah, I'll say that.
And talking about the chins,
Yeah,
that's
that's the
actually
thing.
that's
It's
actually
just
a
not
consistent
likely.
thing. There's a consistent thing where Hawkins' chin is always like pointed or flat at the chin, like the actual like middle part. This is a rounded normal chin, which Komurasaki has. If you go back through, her chin is a rounded chin, which is this.
Yeah, I don't even go too deep into that.
Yeah, I did post example pictures above, and then if you look at it from the front, Hawkins also has like an angular chin when he's looking from the front, which would go along with the pointed chin.
Yeah, see, I don't even think too much about that. Like, yeah, it's significant, but it's like I don't even. Yeah, I don't think too much about that.
Honestly, Oda just doesn't really use sweat that way. So I just don't think it would be Hawkins stressing over anything. I think it has to be some.
I do agree that Hawkins is very likely potentially working along the law. I just don't think it'd be in this situation. I think Hawkins might be.
Yeah, I just don't think that's him. Funny thing though, they're in the treasure room. You guys think there's any chance of like seeing the poneglyph in there?
I don't know. Another person that came up in my mind was Robin, right? Like, could it be Robin?
Yeah, a lot of people said Robin too.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's a treasure room. They're looking for, she's looking.
I think the
question,
is too long
yeah,
to be
the question was like that, and then also like, well, like, why is she crying? Is that something that is, and then that kind of ended that idea.
Yeah, the crying thing is a little. I will say, to give it some semblance of leeway, she was the other one that noticed the arm getting cut off.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to bring that up.
I was about to ask if that was her. So wasn't she? Did she cry a little bit with that, or
no, she didn't. But she was upset.
You noticed it too, Zoro, right?
But yeah, Robin. Yeah, I don't know. Well, we don't have to go too deep into why it's not Robin. It just that's someone else that came to mind for me.
We should go into Fats.
What?
What we should go into is ASAP Marineford and all that good character development he went through. That Oda just forgot to put in the series. I don't know, man.
I'm gonna take a pee. You guys get at
it. Okay, so my big gripe with ASAP Marineford, it's not that his character was bad to have done what he did. It's that there was no build up to his character to expect that from him.
Yes, there was.
No, there was not, because he was introduced as the level-headed, sensible brother of the two. He was like Luffy's mature, responsible older guy.
Yeah, but you see, okay, well, yeah, you say build up, yes, but then when you take the entire set of arcs into consideration, you consider the ASL flashback and everything, then it becomes very apparent why he would make that decision.
But that's retrospect. Like the problem is it has to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but like, is that an inherent flaw? Is what I'm saying. It's like, like, something. Oh, a character made a decision, but it wasn't like made. It's like Katakuri. Like like an example following that same logic. It'd be like, Katakuri was not foreshadowed to have been the kind of guy to stab himself when his sister insulted the fight that he was in. But was the moment taken away from? Did it take away from his character? No, I don't think it did, right? Following that same logic of whether it has to be retrospect or not, then it's like, yeah, well, then there's a lot of situations in the story where if you follow that logic, then it becomes a problem. But I don't think it necessarily is.
Well, that is that is a fair point of view to have, but I would challenge that with we had one arc with Katakuri. Ace was around for hundreds of chapters.
Well, he was
And
known as a
not-
character for
not
100
consistently.
chapters.
Well,
Yeah, yeah,
he
he was
clearly.
a
I mean, you
character
could,
for a good
yeah, it's
while.
like
He,
Doflamingo
had-
was.
yeah,
known for
but
that
he
much.
had like a good bit of development already.
Well, he
But-
had
Challenge
he had
that
like
further on the
Wait,
same.
he had like a
wait.
chapter, you know, he had like a couple of chapters in Alabaster where he was characterized as goofy and silly, and then he was also like a little bit
The
more
mature.
trustworthy
Well,
than
no.
Luffy. And then we had, you know, beyond that, we had like the brief showing of him in Drum Island, where he was like, oh, he showed up, and then we also got to see him in Impelled Down talking to Garp.
Yeah, and the
Well-
Jinbei, and then we got like the Roger flashback, the Whitebeard flashback. But
So-
my point is, this was his greatest character flaw, and we didn't get any real bit of it until after Marineford. You know, we
Yeah,
got
so
that
is that
he had
is
the
that
ego.
a is that a flaw in the narrative?
So I'm gonna
That's what
say
I'm
yes,
saying.
and I'm actually gonna challenge your Katakuri point because throughout the fight we actually see him start to like question why Luffy's able to get up and still and stuff like continue.
Yeah,
to,
but
to
does
fight.
that no.
it's
But
true. That's not
Yeah,
but
no,
does
I'm
that-
not done, Fats, I'm not done. That
Yeah, well,
plays
go
into
ahead,
him,
go ahead
That
then.
plays into his growing respect for Luffy as a character. That plays into him respecting him more, which then eventually leads into him stabbing himself because of that respect he gained for him.
Yeah, but
That was
do those moments definitively imply that without having seen what happens towards the end? That's
Not
what I'm
implied,
saying.
but
They
just-
do
Wait, what
not.
do you mean?
They
What do you mean by that?
they
No,
do
no, I
not
mean, I'm changing the
imply.
term
They
here.
do
not
not
imply, but justify what happens.
They do not imply that character development unless you can see it through the eyes of someone
But
who's
it
read
made
the
it, but
entire
it
arc.
made sense. No. This is the opinion of someone. I have been defending him stabbing himself since the chapter happened itself. Fats.
I did
I
the
think it
same
was
thing.
justified.
I'm
Yes,
saying.
but what I'm
it
trying to say
was-
is that the points it was justified before the arc ended. Before seeing the stuff afterwards, it is justified by the actions. And
Exactly,
the
it
dialogue
is.
prior. It's
No,
justified by the
no,
dialogue
because
prior.
that stuff prior does not by necessity refer to exactly that. All it does is imply that, yes, I'm beginning to respect you as an opponent. It does not imply
I
that
act- Yes,
I am
which
so.
means-
agree with
It
that
does
on this
not
one, yeah.
imply that I am so disgusted with somebody interfering with the
But it
fight that
justifies
I'm
it.
willing to stab myself.
It's
No,
not,
it does
doesn't need to be
not.
spelled out for you, but
No.
it develops.
No,
him
no,
as
no.
the
It
type of
has
person that
nothing
was
to do with
reasonably-
spelling it out. No. It does
What is the
not
most
spell it
implied
out.
reasoning?
What I'm saying is those earlier events do not specifically imply that Katakuri would make a decision to do something like that. It can
Pause.
be used. It can be used to say, yes, wow, this makes more sense because he has been doing this stuff, but it does not specifically imply that.
Okay, now pause. I get it. So the point I was trying to make, and I think you're wording it in a way that I already meant it, is that the points being shown or the dialogue shown prior did show him like gaining respect or not. You could okay. It showed him questioning Luffy's reasonings and why he was able to do this or that, which then justifies the moment itself. The moment that happens, it is justified by him gaining that respect in the first place and seeing that. Now, the moment that Ace starts turning tail and going against Akainu, it is not justified by anything prior to that. It is justified after the fact, which is the issue.
Even
Yeah,
even
exactly.
considering the flashback that we see, if I remember correctly, beforehand, where we see Ace as a young adult on Whitebeard's ship.
See, that's the thing. In that flashback,
It's further
yeah,
justified in
further.
ASL, but like if I remember
we don't
correctly,
get that character trait of Ace's until the Sabo flashback. That's the problem. It's not in the Whitebeard flashback. We get that he's like a little headstrong and has an ego on him, but it's more implied that
No,
Whitebeard.
well, I would disagree
as
there
opposed
because
to-
you know what happens during the flashback of him like on
Oh,
the
you know what,
Whitebeard
actually,
crew is that
you
he
are right at one point.
you know
Because
he
Blackbeard, right?
Whitebeard accepts him. Ace is trying to kill him, and then he finds out Roger is his dad, and he's like, yeah, I don't care. We are all children of the sea,
Flash.
and Ace during that flashback grows to respect Whitebeard, and given what we know about him, it's like yeah, he has this. His dad is Gold Roger, right? And then that's for that element is further talked about in the ASL flashback.
Oh.
But beforehand, we're shown the respect and the serious respect that he has for Whitebeard beforehand because he treats him as a son, right? So like that kind of thing, it makes sense. But my that's not even really that relevant. My point is that even if it's shown after the fact, it doesn't necessarily mean bad writing. It just means like Oda didn't want to show this whole flashback of Luffy and Ace and Sabo as kids before Marineford, right?
Yeah,
It's like that's
fine.
all it
That's
is.
perfectly fine. It's not that flashback specifically about it. It's that the character trait wasn't in any of the other development that Ace had. It wasn't in his character until not even Akainu. It's not until
See,
arguing with
and
Whitebeard
that's
about Blackbeard, about
that's
Chase Blackbeard. At that point, that is the first time in the series we actually get a glimpse of him being this headstrong, fatally angry person who would charge after someone.
see,
Yeah, I think the issue
well,
isn't
that's
that
what
he's
I'm saying.
shown
That's
as
what
impulsive, though.
that's
It's,
what I'm
it's
saying
the,
with
it's that
with
sorry.
the Katakuri versus this, right? Katakuri, the things that he does earlier in the fight aren't necessarily going to direct you immediately and very narrowly towards that sort of decision that he makes where he's so upset and furious about ruining the sanctity of this fight, right? That stuff is not it's not like immediately, but you can go back and take those little pieces and be like, yeah, well, that makes a little bit more sense given
A lot of
what he's done, right? And then
Honestly,
when you go
with the
back and look at
Katakuri
that
one,
and
I
that
can't.
flashback, you go back and look at that flashback, and then you take those same pieces, the same logic can be applied where it's like, yeah, he heavily respected Whitebeard, and so given
Well-
all this stuff, then that's what happens. And then the same thing with Katakuri afterwards, we see what happens in his childhood, and it makes even more sense then. And then it's the same with the ASL flashback. You apply that to Ace, and it's like, yeah, now it makes perfect sense why he would make that decision despite it being a stupid decision.
There are a couple things I want to say regarding that. Is I actually agree that he was pretty much always, except for the Alabasta stuff, but like prior to the actual scene itself, he was shown as impulsive. I agree with that, but my issue isn't with him being impulsive. It's the context of that impulsiveness. Usually he is impulsive in regards to like things like taking responsibility for like what happened with Blackbeard, right? He's impulsive. He wants to go after Blackbeard despite being told not to. Stuff like that. This is a verbal statement being said that has no meaning in the end of the day, and he is kind of like tarnishing the sacrifices that have already been made by for his own sake by just turning tail and going back around and going after him. I also want to point out something with the Katakuri fight is that so Katakuri was testing Luffy the entire time. Like he was actively testing. You could tell while the fight was going on prior to stabbing himself. He was testing him and trying to understand why he's able to get back up, why he keeps getting back up, and then finally he hits Luffy, and he's in that entire like that perception of him was shattered. He's like, "Oh, you're not getting back up anymore," shit like that. Until he realizes that the reason he wasn't getting back up in the first place was because he got shot by Brule, which actually does tie like very perfectly into him wanting to stab himself because he's that entire like thing he was testing him for in the first place was like was shattered due to Brule doing that.
And so
So I think it
I-
justifies it a bit more.
and so I agree with that. And I would say that the same thing applies to Ace. However, I want to say what you brought up about him making basically not making a mockery, but the idea of him
There were already
he fucked up what people did for him specifically by doing that. I say that that's valid, right? But I'm saying, in terms of his character's ideology, the same kind of logic applies there, where it's like Ace would make that decision, and that's proven to us.
I think he
in-
would
in a
if he
similar
like
way.
understood. I think he would if he understood that like this was to save Whitebeard. But I think at that point he knew Whitebeard was dead, right? So but
Maybe.
the mockery is what caused him to turn around rather than trying to save Whitebeard. And I think
But
I
yeah,
think
it's not about
the verbal
sa-
aspect is what ruins it.
It's not about saving Whitebeard. It's
Okay,
about
okay,
like
hang on,
saving
let me get
whether
a-
or
let me
not
get a
he
word in
saves
here.
himself, right? I just think that same logic applies. And while
So-
one is like, Katakuri had a lot less. Like his fight was just less. You know what I mean? Than what Ace had. Overall, right? When you consider. Okay, we've had Katakuri's
agree.
fight, and then we had Katakuri's short flashback afterwards, and then we have Ace's fight.
If you include the actual like Ace Sabu Luffy flashback entirely, then I'd agree. But I think prior it had more than Ace had.
Yeah, and well, what I'm saying is that it's not a narrative issue that was told after the fact. That's
Okay,
generally
so
my
we have-
that's generally
I
my
also
point
don't
here.
I also don't think that the flashback like justified him going after them based on like exclusively verbal shit either. But that's not really
Yeah,
like,
that's
something that
another
could
thing.
definitively-
We don't
yeah.
have to go
Wait, wait,
all
wait,
the
wait.
way into
So
that.
on the whole topic, Katakuri is a kind of drastically different situation in a big way, and that would be the fact that he has this one fight. Personally, I'm actually with you, Fats. I don't think he justifies stabbing himself. Like characters are.
Oh,
just,
I didn't
just
say
very-
that. I think his stabbing himself was justified.
Oh, what you Red was saying was justified. Weren't you saying it wasn't?
No, I was saying it was. I was only saying that the moments before don't necessarily lead to that unless you know that it's happening. Right? Like when you read the chapter where he stabs himself, you can go back and look at those moments and be like, wow, that makes
Yeah.
a bit of sense.
But Fats, do you agree that?
previously it doesn't immediately lead to that? Is what I'm
But
saying.
Fats,
Well,
do you
I
do you
get-
agree that in that frame, Katakuri stabbing himself would be the Ace Sabu Luffy flashback rather than his actual action in the moment?
What do you mean by that?
Well,
By like retroactively by using the Ace Sabu Luffy flashback, you could potentially like try to understand why he would like do that in the moment, like go after Akainu or whatever. But him going after Akainu cannot lead to that so much prior to that flashback itself. Whereas with Katakuri, I feel like the moment itself had reasoning before it that you could look back on, that you could retroactively be like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Whereas like with Ace, it was more the actual flashback itself that tried to provide a little more reasoning to that rather than the actual moments leading up to the moment.
the flashback was there almost like specifically to provide context
Yeah.
for that decision. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
But
whereas
also
Katakuri still had a
hang on.
flashback later, but
yeah,
With
I
Katakuri, his thing, I just felt like it was too drastic. That's all. That was just my opinion. Like he went from 0 to 100 real quick about that, you know.
well that
But
aside.
but besides that, but the massive difference in the two happenings is this was Ace's third last decision before he died. With Katakuri, it felt more justified because it was just an injury, right? He was in no real danger of like losing his life or anything. He was in almost perfect control of the fight for most of that fight.
Well, that's not
That's
like
that's-
to
that's what-
me. I mean, the
Well, hang on. With Akainu, after everything that the Whitebeard Prides had gone through, and Ace actually talks about how he's just gonna sit there and let them rescue him. But then Akainu says just the smallest piece of shit insult in
it
the
wasn't
world.
that small. It wasn't that small.
I mean,
It was-
come on.
it
It
was
was...
so obvious exactly what he was doing, and I think Ace recognized that and still went after him anyways.
See,
Well,
that's
look,
no,
he-
Red, that's the
here's
retarded
what
thing.
I just want to
He
say.
wasn't trying to make Ace turn around. He was surprised that Ace took that bait.
Number one, I think when you talked about ASL being the main context for that, yeah, I agree. I do also think, though, in following the same logic about the stab with Katakuri, right? And then the moments before, I think what we can take from the flashback where Ace is actually a young adult on Whitebeard's ship, I think we can take those moments and apply them in the same way to his decision making at Marineford before we've seen the ASL flashback, right? We can take those moments from the flashback where he has the development with Whitebeard. We learn about, we at that point we know Roger is his dad, and he's basically got a little bit of daddy issues. We are able to infer that those types of things, and we're able to use that to do that same. It's that same train of logic, right, about the stab, right?
You know,
And then
sorry,
afterwards,
you're
we're able to get a lot more context about it, right? And then understand. My main point here is not that Ace was not being dumb, or that it's none of that, right? Like, what I think is admirable about Ace is that he stuck to his ideology, no matter how ridiculous it was, at the point of death, and protected his brother in the meantime while doing that. Right.
This is specifically with the flashback on Whitebeard's ship and whatnot. I want to add a little bit that I think also kind of contradicts the action he took against Akainu. The moment Whitebeard shows up, my man immediately puts up a wall of fire. He's like, "My crew, get the fuck out of here," right? Whereas in the situation of Marineford, people have already died for his sake, and going through all of that to lead to that actually causing him to die anyways, him knowing that he's putting himself in danger by turning back around, despite showing that he does actually like care that much about keeping people alive and whatnot. I feel like that doesn't really line up very well.
Yeah, but that's disregarding his comments about how
So-
he wanted to make Whitebeard the Pirate King. He says that outright on the execution.
Yeah, but
platform.
Whitebeard's already gonna die. Ace knows that.
No,
He's
no,
not
no.
turning
This is
on
this is
people.
this is long before, right? He wants to make Whitebeard the Pirate King, but that's not his only goal. He treats Whitebeard as his true father, right? We can
Yeah.
see that from that previous flashback. And so when his father is insulted, the only father he's ever felt like he's ever had, he's going to act irrationally about it, right? That to me makes
know if it's
sense.
justified.
It's not.
Well,
it
let me
makes
step in here
sense.
for a
It's
sec.
not a good decision, but it makes sense in terms of his character.
In a vacuum, you would be right. In a like vacuum situation, if that just happened, they're on the street somewhere, you'd be absolutely right. But Red hit it pretty hard. Like, the Whitebeard pirates were his family at that point. They were dying just to get him out. People were actively trying to pull him away from fighting Akainu. Like, they were screaming at him, "Don't do this! Don't fight him!" For a while, and he went out
They
of
didn't say
his
anything
way.
specifically about Akainu. No.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
only
they-
happened like once. Actually,
No, they
No,
screamed
They
like, "No, stop,
literally
Ace."
grabbed
They
his
seemed
arm
no
and
stop
tried
Ace,
to
like
pull
as
him
soon as he
away.
had already talked to Akainu and like fought him and like clashed with him, right? It wasn't
No.
like a consistent theme of like the
No,
his-
yeah.
him.
Before
It
the
was,
clash
like,
ever happened, they were
just-
trying to pull him
It was
away.
like just before, while he may or may not have been able to hear them, like they said that. So let's make sure that's clear. Number one, but go on.
No, yeah, it was like before the clash ever happened. They saw him stop. They tried to tell him, "Don't do it. Don't go into this. This isn't worth it," basically. And that's something that he really should have done. Like, throwing an insult to his father. That is fair. You're right. It does make sense that would rile him up. It absolutely does not make sense that he would do that after people died trying to get him away from Akainu in the first place.
Does it though? Because
It
people
really
people
doesn't. No,
people
man.
people tried to convince him not to do it, but when in the past has he ever listened to them? Especially considering that flashback that we saw, where Whitebeard himself and all of the crew told him not to go after Blackbeard, and he did anyway.
Hold on a second, Fats. Look at staff VC real quick.
Sure. Yeah. Hold on.
He hasn't started fighting him yet or anything. He's getting pulled back on the arm by the Whitebeard pirates and whatnot.
Yeah.
right there.
So they
Whatever
say keep running, but it's like that's the same situation as Blackbeard did something. Whitebeard has a bad feeling, and Ace goes after him anyway.
Yeah, that is that's consistent. Sure, like that's consistent that he would be stubborn about something like that, but it's not consistent that he would essentially be disregarding all of the sacrifice that happened, especially
Yeah, but
just
but
like
you
an
know,
hour
there's not
before.
a situation previously to show that. What we have previously, based on the flashback, is that Thatch dies due to Blackbeard, and it's the rules, right? Thatch disrespected Whitebeard, or not Thatch. Blackbeard disrespected Whitebeard in the worst way possible, and he is like, "I'm ready to fuck this guy up," and then everybody tells him no, and then he goes anyway, right? It's literally the same fucking situation.
But
It's
it's
the
not just
exact same situation.
but it's not just an insult.
Somebody died.
That's not just an insult. That's
Somebody died, and then everybody told him not to do anything about it, and he did it anyway. It's the same fucking thing as here.
No,
It's
no. Ace already said his word to Whitebeard. He was turning tail. He was leaving. He had already decided that a single thing of calling Whitebeard a loser is what caused him to turn back around.
I'm saying, well, you're
And
you're arguing that
Mark
like the deaths of his comrades are out of character, but that's not true because Thatch was a person that he knew very personally, and then he even still made that decision
but
even
you know what?
against
That's
Whitebeard.
not a good example.
No, how is that not a
that's
good
not a
example?
good
That's the only example we have. That makes literally no fucking
sense.
sense.
Because Thatch
It's
didn't
not a good
Thatch
example.
didn't die trying
No,
to save
wait, hang on.
Dude, that
It's
doesn't
not a
that
good
those
example
little
because Thatch's
nitpicky examples don't make any sense considering his character. That makes
Thatch's
literally
death
no
was
sense.
The reason he went after Blackbeard.
Exactly.
No one died for him to turn around against Akainu. That's the thing. Like it's justified that he went after Blackbeard. The dude killed his friend and disrespected Whitebeard. It wasn't just that someone threw an insult. He sits
Yeah, but
here,
that's
like,
what
with
we
his friend
have in the
dying and
past.
completely disconnected. But it's those two things were connected. The insult was killing Thatch. That was the insult. That's not the same as, he's here with his entire family dying all around him, and this dude decides to diss Whitebeard, who's being a beast. The literally the one person in the world who doesn't need a single fucking dude to defend his
I
name.
don't see how it's so separate. I really do not see it because it's like, look at the situation, right? You're talking about people are dying around him, and then in comparison, Thatch died. And then somebody disrespects Whitebeard, and Thatch's death was a disrespect of Whitebeard. It's like it's not exactly the same, but the situation, the hot-bloodedness, the disregard for any rationality, even when Whitebeard tells him, "I have a bad feeling, don't do this." Like all those things are similar, right?
Yeah,
and he does the same thing.
Yeah, and that is fair. That is exactly that is consistent with his personality. That's fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's my core belief about Ace.
Yeah, like that is consistent with enough of the personality. The only thing is the weight of the situation. With Thatch, he was going after Blackbeard for revenge because he killed Thatch. That was the insult.
And it was also Ace's in his mind. It was his responsibility as Blackbeard's like commander. If that makes sense, it was someone under him.
That was like the rule of the ship, apparently.
Yeah,
and then they tried to change that. They were like, no, you don't have to go along with that. But it's like, no, this is the rule of the ship. I will go for it.
Yeah,
yada yada. There's more context to the situation that justifies it like so much more than this situation.
Well, that's fair. I also would argue that there's such thing as heat of the moment here. Being in a very tense, heated situation in the middle of a war.
Yeah, right in the middle of his chest.
Yeah, no, I mean seriously though. Like jokes aside, like that's a legitimate thing. I just think it's in line with his character. That's what I'm saying. I don't think there was any evidence given to us prior that would suggest that Ace was not hot-blooded enough to make this decision, right? I think it's all there. He was hot-blooded before, and then what we have afterwards, he was hot-blooded then. He was always hot-blooded, and he had a fucking daddy complex, and somebody pissed him off, and it's in the middle of this big war. He's been through a ton of shit. He's probably he probably hasn't eaten anything. He was in prison. you know, it's like just a bunch of fucking different things, and it all just lines up for me. You know what I mean? And it was like a terrible decision, obviously a fucking horrific decision to make, but I
Yeah.
really think it was in line with his character.
I think it was like somewhat in line. I just don't think it was enough in line. That's all. I think we might leave off on like an agree to disagree situation here.
Yeah, no,
but
that's fine.
I do want to point one more thing out that was like that I was reminded of basically by talking about the Ace Luffy stuff. Ace, in doing this, Ace also leaves Luffy alone in the world, which also kind of contradicts a large part of his brotherly character.
Well, you know, it's not like a situation where Ace is like omnipotent, where he's like, you know, I know I'm gonna die, or like I know this is what's gonna happen. It's just hot bloodedness, you know.
Yeah,
he obviously wouldn't. He wouldn't make that decision voluntarily, where he's like he knows that, you know, oh, I'm gonna die here if I turn back and do this. It's like you know,
just another thing added to the gravity, like being said. That makes that kind of.
Well, from the reader's perspective, you can see it's like, yeah, well, you know, obviously making that decision. No, we know how strong Akainu is. We know how strong Ace is. We are aware that, you know, he's not gonna be able to win the fight. But like when you look at it from,
I mean, Ace is aware of that too.
Well, yeah, like, from the character's position, it's like we don't know if Ace is aware of that. We don't know if.
So Ace has gone against Whitebeard more than fucking anyone else has probably, and in that regard, Akainu is the one that did a lot of the damage to Whitebeard in that.
Yeah, but like, did Ace see all of that? Did he? Did he see everything?
He was literally watching it. Yes.
Yeah, but you're acting like Ace is omnipotent. You're acting like he's the reader.
He saw it, but he saw it.
He might have seen that. That's fine. But like, did he? You know, in his heated, tense state, did he know that? You know, oh, I'm just gonna fucking die here by trying to clash with Akainu? Did he know that Luffy was going to be at risk by doing this? Like those thoughts, it's like this is a matter of like a minute. It's like a matter of like 30 seconds to a minute of this decision making.
So
right?
the former about you know, knowing to die, no, of course he didn't. The latter, he absolutely wouldn't know he was putting Luffy in danger here.
It's just too little time. It's too tense. You know, you can't expect a human being to make a perfect decision.
There's enough to the point where someone grabbed his arm and explained the risk to him that we have to leave, whatever.
Multiple people tried repeatedly to stop him. Like, we really can't even justify this like he didn't know. Everyone else around him knew and tried to tell him, and he didn't listen.
No. They didn't say, oh, you can't do it. They said it's not worth it. They didn't say anything about you're not strong enough.
Get back. Yeah, I mean, sure.
I mean, what I'm saying is, like, you know, given that context and given like what we had seen about him before, it was perfectly in character. That's what I'm saying. But you know, I understand this is just gonna go on. You know, we've already been talking about this for like 25, 30 minutes. We can agree to disagree here.
Podcast still fucking on.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we're like 2 hours and 40 minutes in here now. We can agree to disagree, and I respect what you guys are saying. I think it's reasonable. I just disagree personally.
I'm kind of surprised we went into it for this long because we've had this conversation too many times.
Well, this is just an awesome conversation. I mean, seriously, legitimately, this is just a great conversation. I think it's like one of the constants that's like if you're talking to somebody who, you know, like me talking to you guys have reasonable
one side or the other. There's always
you have reasonable, you know, you have reasonable opinions and you have good reasoning as to why you have them. And it's like I have mine. It's like it's a great conversation to have. So I could talk about this for fucking another hour probably.
I actually do wish I had your mentality because that would save like a large part of Marineford for me beyond other things that I dislike about it. But
it's literally just Ace. Ace is that one decision was so. We won't get into it again. Let's
it's a good one. I wish it doesn't look like anybody's really like listening anymore, but I hope somebody who cares about the series actually goes back and listens. I felt like that was like a really good back and forth, to be honest, about that. It kind of just elucidated the big points about that conversation, right? Like, yeah, it was good.
By the way, B, don't think I'll forget about that Katakuri slander.
Wait, which one?
You
There's been
agreed-
a lot, man.
you quote unquote agreed with Fats's statement, even though you were agreeing with
All
something
right.
different that he meant. He's like,
No,
"Come on,
yeah.
man."
Okay, so he went 0 to 100 real quick, dude. Like he went from okay, I'm starting to kind of respect Luffy to yeah, let me tear a chunk of my kidney out for this kid.
Well, yeah,
Like,
that's it's because he did the exact same thing that happened to Luffy. Um,
like
uh,
I'm just saying, like
it's
on the
not- it's
whole,
not
like
it-
literally the whole arc considered, it still doesn't make sense to me. It's still a little too drastic to me.
you're nutty.
Yeah, that's another thing. I find that situation to be very well
Like
written.
it was just
and
a
that's
not
just
that
good.
not that it was unjustified or anything. It was just too drastic to me, is all.
What were we
Ace
saying?
justified.
Yeah, I felt like that was well written. So that's
Yeah,
me.
that was vastly written. I mean, it's my favorite fight in the series. now.
That's what I argued. I remember like everybody
Well, I
when
loved it. I love that it happened. It just felt pretty extreme.
everybody in
was-
the server, like, you know, once the fight ended, there was like there was like a little side server of like Katakuri fucking sad simper, I don't
Yeah,
know,
I'm still in that server.
Are we still on the? Are we still on
of
the cast?
how he lost and everything, and I was like, yeah,
Is
I
the
had been
cast over?
arguing it before that. I was like, yeah, you
Yeah,
know,
but
he's
you
gonna
didn't
lose.
bet. Bats, you didn't fucking bet. You didn't deserve to be in that server.
God damn it!
Dude, it's because
Yo,
I
real
was,
quick,
I was
real
right.
Quick, real quick. Let's wrap up the podcast. before
Yeah,
we-
you're right. You're right. We're just getting.
Oh, we were still going. I thought we were done.
No, yeah, it's not done. Yeah, it was a good,
Okay.
it was a good podcast. We had a lot of
Yeah.
good topics come
these
up here.
these chapters are really fantastic.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, they were fun.
it's awesome that, like, you know, the idea that we went from the silhouette and then to, I don't know how we got from the silhouette to Ace at Marineford, but somehow it happened. So it
No,
must,
we
it must
got,
be
it
a
was,
good
that was
chapter.
earlier in the chapter. That was a Sanji comparison or some shit like that. I
Oh
don't remember
yeah,
what it was.
yeah, you're right. You're right. It was a Sanji thing.
Yeah, that's
Wait,
right.
what's
Sanji's character stuff.
Something else. No, I think it
Yeah,
might have been something.
yeah. It was.
Fuck, I don't remember.
It was the Sanji's character being, you know, like
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah,
comparing his
unyielding in his ideology compared
and whatnot, yeah,
yeah.
His violent chivalry.
But yeah, anyway, it was a good one. It was a lot of fun. I'm gonna turn it off now. Any last words, fellas?
Keep
Alright, I'm turning
Yeah,
Go
keep
back.
true to Hawkins.
Keep
God
shit
damn
on. Okay, okay.
keep the drum
Goodbye.